Yo, nerds, and welcome back to part two of this week's Anime Reformation Collective podcast. I'm Arrow Games. I'm going to be hosting this again. We have one addition to the crew today, and I'm just going to go back around and do introductions. So, starting on the left is Azorhai, also known as John.
Hey, how's it going?
We got Commodore Chris again,
What's up, guys?
and my man Wivik on the side.
More like Chris the Simp. Good stuff. All right. Yeah. Hey, Ray. How's it going? Nice to be back again.
Yeah, so this is our part two, covering Noralities video on.
I'm worried about cancel culture.
Right, I'm worried about cancel culture, problematic media, and how to deal. So the second half, and we're gonna jump right in. John, you did say you watched the beginning part. Did you have anything like crazy, any kind of hot takes you want to spit at us? Or?
Nothing really. I didn't engage too much with it. I was kind of focused on the second half. If you guys want to do like a slight little recap to let everybody know where the discussion's kind of leading.
Right. So the first half of the first half was a response to the backlash she got from her child-coded video, in which a lot of people kind of just tore into her, saying like, "Oh, using a lot of the it's a different culture kind of argumentation," which Noralities goes on to explain she thought was kind of lazy, to bring up that it's a different culture, but also not bring up the fact that Japan has issues with abuse when it comes to even reporting it, right? Which is something that she brought up before we segued into problematic media, which she is starting to build a case for the fact that media doesn't exist in a vacuum. What is portrayed in media can affect the thoughts and actions of people in the real world. And I think at the end of that, me and Viv were kind of unconvinced using, or just looking plainly at the arguments that Moralities was pushing forward, like her rhetoric. We think Chris did an amazing job in steel manning her arguments, which made a lot more sense and were a lot more arguable, or something that we could take a stand against or with or whatever. But yeah, anything else you guys want to add?
No, that seems to be a good basic recap. I think towards this part where she was segmenting into the death of the author, where we'll begin, she was kind of covering the idea of creators being responsible for the content that they create, doing due diligence to try to think carefully about the potentially harmful things that they may end up presenting in their media, so that they don't, I guess, do too much harm, given the fact that media does have a potential to affect reality. And she also mentioned how she in general has this general contempt for the idea that people should be canceled and they shouldn't be given a path back to society, or shouldn't be allowed some form of restoration or repentance in a way, because, well, people are never allowed to change, then it's no good. So I think that's the only other things that I remember about it.
Right. Just to paint the picture a little bit more, she just talked about the author of Jaws, or the book that inspired the movie Jaws, as well as some D&D podcast guys, and how they both, after receiving feedback from the community at large, changed their works going forward. Well, the D&D guys changed their work going forward to not fall into some kind of problematic trope that they were using. And the Jaws author went on to say that, if he knew the kind of impact that he would have spurred by creating this book, which was like negative animosity towards like sharks and kind of stigmatizing sharks and stuff like that, but if he had known that was going to happen, he probably wouldn't have written in the first place. So
Hindsight's 2020.
yeah. Chris, anything before we start?
I am not a simp. Moralities is just it's just making a good argument here. Okay,
it's the tomboy aesthetic. Everyone can't hide the truth from us, Chris. We all know. I mean, not that I'm against it myself, but I mean,
I don't know about that.
It's that slow drawl of a voice she has.
What are you trying to say there, John?
Yes. I don't know about that one.
Okay, all right.
But just to be clear, where I stand on this is that I think she has done a decent job at laying out her argument, especially with the examples that she chose. Some were definitely better than others, and she like could be a little more precise with her language. Is where I stand generally.
I wonder if she'll have the same courtesy for people that she really disagrees with, but I'm sure we'll find out.
So like that little more precise is a lot more precise, but that's fine. I guess that's the difference of opinion that you see here on the ARC podcast, because we're not afraid to engage with dissenting opinions. Come and engage with us as well.
Or
That's a
simps, but okay.
That was nice. That was a good message. Good PSA.
Okay, let's go.
gotta be shilling us, man, you know?
Oh yeah.
However, what do you do when an author is deliberately creating a work with malicious content or conduct, when they have been informed of the harm that they are causing and still refuse to change? Well, that's when things start to get a bit messy. Death of the author. Death of the author is a term coined in a 1967 essay by Roland Barthes, which, to put it very simply, means that the authorial intent should have no impact on an audience's reading or interpretation of a text. Which, frankly, I think people have been over-employing this idea lately because it's easy. It takes all of the responsibility off of the reader to do any further research or to examine a text outside of their own worldview. Much like canceling, I think death of the author cannot be used as a catch-all. It needs to be applied in a case-by-case basis.
Do you guys agree with that description?
No, I don't. You can't control death of the author. That's why it's like you could try. You could say that. I guess it's a prescriptive argument, but honestly, I just think that Roland Barth's general point is probably more descriptive than anything. People will do this. You have no control over this. This is what's actually going to happen. But outside of that, in general, I would say I'm for whatever the merits of the text are standing on themselves. The merits of the work are standing for themselves. So if someone creates a piece of work, piece of media, and they say it's supposed to be about, I don't know, supposed to be about saving puppies and being eco-friendly, but none of that is clearly within the subtext or the themes or the actual meat of the story. But it's I don't know, it's about, I don't know, like a post-apocalyptic wasteland where people killed each other for resources, and you say it's about saving puppies. I was like, well, I'm sorry, I can't take your interpretation. It's just not there. So, death of the author, I suppose. If that makes sense, what I said.
Yeah, I do also think that Roland's view is a lot more descriptive, right, about what happens. It's not a prescriptive claim or anything, but after she, summarizes, I guess, Death of the Author, she goes on to state that, by using Death of the Author too much, or, this argumentation birth out of quote unquote Death of the Author, that it takes all the responsibility off the reader to do any further research or to examine a text outside their own worldview. And I guess that's one reading of it. But I don't think that fully parses as the intent behind the lens of Death of the Author, right? I think Death of the Author, as described, mainly is just this perspective of kind of sansing the whatever the author says that his story was supposed to be about, post text, right? And I'm not too sure exactly what she states about people just sitting in their own perspective and engaging with a work only from that perspective is inherently, or is actually that true. I'm sure, like, that just sounds like a really, really like the worst example of someone using this argument, right? And I don't think that really aligns with the general use or the larger understanding of Death of the Author. Or am I just off base here?
I think it's probably fair to say people do use it flippantly. I've seen it used flippantly before, where people might just quote "death of the author" and to just justify whatever thing that they think, without having to give some, like she says, without having to give some kind of uh, deeper thought to how things are working. You just, my head canon is the true canon kind of perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can kind of get where she's coming from with that. Um, though I would say that in general, um, I don't know if the problem she's talking about can be circumvented, because I can't help but see people are always going to take whatever um, perspective or culture that they're inundated with, and see whatever work they're looking at through that lens. And whether or not they quote death of the author to do so doesn't change the fact of the matter that they're still engaging in the death of the author while they're engaging with whatever literary or media work that they're uh, participating with.
Any thoughts, guys? Chris, John?
Nah, I think you guys described it pretty well. I do think that the authors definitely have an intent when they're writing, but people also have their own interpretations. I'm not sure how to square it, to be honest.
I'm happy, like, for myself. It can only really be done, I guess, on a personal level. I'm happy to have a compromise with the author if I read something about a work that the author talks about. I'm happy to have some kind of compromise with the author, but ultimately, I do think that the work of the author should stand by itself, regardless of the author's intent. So,
I agree with that too, because like I said, I could separate it out. But like I agree with the compromise sort of idea that if they meant something by it, I can see it. I can go back and watch it and see it again through the work. But at the same time, I'm going to have my own opinion or view on maybe something that's happened in the story and come to my own conclusion about it. But yeah, I agree with the compromise sort of approach.
yeah.
I don't mind exploring the author's intent, to be honest, in like a in different contexts. Maybe it's inappropriate. Um, but I do generally go the route of just looking at what exists in the text. Like was said, uh, regardless of the authorial intent generally.
Would I be wrong in saying that sometimes that intent comes off as a little post hoc, depending on how people react to it?
That could be.
Maybe, yeah.
I think we have a great example of that coming up later, but
All right, let's.
Oh yeah, with with
Yeah,
old
yeah,
girl. Yeah.
yeah. Let's see if she gets to it.
okay, let's go for it.
H.P. Lovecraft was racist even for the time he was born in, but he's dead. Buying or engaging with his work is probably going to be harmless. By buying or reading his work, you are not giving your money and support to a person who you know to be racist. It's going to his estate or whatever. You can read the text not knowing the name of his cat, Google at your own risk, and enjoy the iconic horror. But you may still end up surprised when confronted by racially loaded aspects that are in the text.
So I'm just going to read this aloud for everyone else. This is from the Horror Innsmouth, H.P.
Yep,
Lovecraft,
yep. Shadows over Innsmouth.
Shadows, and some highlighted text. They never did quite figure out what the trouble was, but it was probably some foreign kind of disease brought from China. And but the real thing behind the way folks feel is simply race prejudice. And I don't say I'm blaming those that hold it. I hate those Innsmouth folks myself.
What?
What a lot of our New York ships used to have to do with queer ports in Africa, Asia, and South Seas, and everywhere else, and what queer kinds of people they sometimes brought back with them.
Is the
So
context of queer being used in the modern way?
no, it's not.
I know it's not, but it just I don't know why she's highlighting it, I guess, but I guess the odd ports in Africa. The
Because
odd, yeah.
Yeah.
it's a clear instances of his bigotry influencing his work.
Sure, I just
It's
want to
true.
make sure
Is
that
is it queer kinds of
Yeah,
people?
I mean, I think I think
he's
I
saying
think
those
I've
weird
I've
sorts
read
of people.
yeah, people call.
I've read into some of H.P. Lovecraft. I did like a project
Mhm.
in high school for my ethics class, and like, yeah, the guy did seem genuinely bigoted, and a lot of the antagonistic forces in his books always seem to be uh just minority groups of people
Word.
generally.
Well, like foreigners. No, don't get it twisted. Like H.P. Lovecraft was definitely definitely bigoted,
Yeah.
but not even just like minority groups. It's just like weird, strange, foreign, alien,
So
all those sorts of
yeah,
things.
H.P. Lovecraft
Yeah,
is
he
like
was
one of
not
my
very charitable with his descriptions of a lot of those types.
Yeah, and that
yes.
definitely had to do with the horror like aspect to what he was trying to portray. And I get it that there was definitely some bigotry that was influencing those decisions.
Right. So like H.P. Lovecraft, I've read probably almost everything he's done. I think what he did for horror was pretty amazing. But at the same time, this guy is a huge xenophobe. Like everything that's not like from New England, like America, from the time that he grew up, he just like was terrified of and fucking like hated. Huge bigot. I mean, what is it? Dreams in the Witch House. The antagonist was literally a black man. Like that's how he describes it. That's how he describes this evil entity. It's just like he's a black dude that wears a suit, and he signs this contract where he signs his soul away. Like that. This is the kind of level we're talking about with H.P. Lovecraft, right?
It's just a black man.
I know it is a little bit weird, but
With Victor Devil.
sell me your soul.
But at the same time, I don't like quote unquote media doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like I don't know if people didn't think he was like a fucking raging xenophobe back then, because some people didn't like to because he was mainly a serial author, right? So he wrote short stories or like parts of his novellas, and they were serialized. And so, they're kind of like light novels, but not fully complete in that sense, where it's like every couple weeks or every couple months, some part of a book or story he's writing gets serialized. And you'd come back and you'd pick up, these serializations every month or so to get the next chapter, right? And there were some publishers that at that time that didn't want to publish him. Some of them thought that his writing sucked, right? They're like, who the fuck is this guy? But other people were like, yeah, he's kind of like super bigoted,
And he's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and he's super fucking weird with this whole like, I don't know. He is a very enigmatic like person. Like there's some documentaries on him. Y'all should go watch them. But like she's this argument where she's making is like, this guy was blah blah blah, this kind of stuff. But people back then knew he was like this too, like they knew he was like he didn't really blow up. Like he didn't make any, like he died poor, like and alone.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Like,
he
it was much later where his works became like seen as being very influential and popular and stuff. So he didn't see a single dime of that. He fucking died, munching on like stale bread.
that's what happens with a lot of media. Doesn't gain relevancy or popularity until a little bit later on.
Yeah. So I mean, I just pushing back on this example a little bit, right? It's he kind of in a sense got what he deserved.
I'm still on the fact that apparently the main villain of one of his books is Obama or something. It's just Obama. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll forward it to you, dude. It's actually pretty funny. I remember reading that particular short story when I was like in middle school or maybe like freshman year in high school. And I like, is this real? Is he trolling me?
I'm sorry. I'm having a good time. That was hilarious. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Point made. Point made.
And I guess if I'm talking about Death of the Author, then I also have to mention J.K. Rowling, which I know, I am also sick of hearing and talking about this. I promise I will keep it quick. If you just examine the text of Harry Potter, you're not going to find anything really offensive in there. In hindsight, there are some interesting things worth noting, like the stairs to the Gryffindor girls' dorm forcibly denying entry to any biological male students, which... would that exclude trans women and non-binary folks if it's only going by biological gender?
How are we supposed to know that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just confused how J.K. Rowling was supposed to be aware of this when she was like a single mother from like I don't know in Britain all the way dadgum.
Whoa.
Dude,
I mean,
the book was written in 1997. People like,
Well, can
Is
I
she
wait?
supposed to know about
Can I
trans issues
just
by then? And trans issues didn't even blow up until like after 2010.
can I
it's like
just
14.
she says in retrospect this makes like this raises my eyebrow here. Like this is a little weird knowing some of her opinions about trans people now.
You think that she was? Oh, so you think that she was including that stuff,
So
like because of it?
yeah, that's the point I'm making.
That's
Like,
no. That's impossible to know.
Oh,
She
okay.
she said she said that you're not gonna find anything genuinely like harmful or bigoted in Harry Potter if you read
okay,
it. But some things raise an eyebrow when we know about the things that she's saying today about trans people.
Sure, but she probably wouldn't have had any sort of notion or knowledge about it then. That's what I'm thinking. Because, like we've said, this stuff didn't really start coming to relevancy until
yeah,
mid 2010s, maybe,
you know, but
in terms of it. So,
like I guess I don't know. To me, it's just it's. I guess you might say it's convenient, but it's just like honestly, I couldn't see something being so far from the mind of someone who was in J.K. Rowling's position at the time of these books were written.
she brings up later in the video, I think, talking about JoJo and
Oh
how
gosh,
she gives charity to the fact that it was written in the 80s in 87 with some of the things that are in his writing. But I don't was she going to give the same kind of charity to J.K. Rowling, it being done in 97 and not having any sort of knowledge about this kind of stuff? I mean, I can't speak to her not having any knowledge of it, but it seems like it isn't something that was in the mainstream conscious at that point.
yeah,
I mean, of course she's not gonna give that charity, dude. I mean, we've already seen this is the second content creator that says, as someone who creates, you have to be mindful of this stuff. Like,
I'm not
you
sure.
know,
Yeah.
But mindful of things that she wouldn't even been in her mind at the point.
yeah,
It's
you
kind of
have to
weird.
be mindful of things that could harm people, right? Like we've heard this argument over and over again.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's the hindsight 2020 argument
I don't know.
instance.
This is. Oh, okay. Let's see where she
Again,
goes with it.
just to be clear, she's not saying that J.K. Rowling was like definitely aware of this stuff. She's just saying this is a little weird with current day knowledge.
I guess
That's
she.
what she's saying.
I guess I don't really see it as being that weird.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, sure. I don't know. The issues around J.K. Rowling and I guess quote unquote her transphobic comments. I don't know. It's like it seems to me. I feel like she's making a very point argument about what we say to be like the transgender barrier to like sports and athletics or various kinds of places. Now I could be wrong, but I guess maybe I don't know enough about this issue. But it seems like she's like J.K. Rowling's not trying to be derogatory. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Well, you can
Okay,
see like
well,
clear differences in between. Like she goes from, Lovecraft, who was clearly and knowingly bigoted, to somebody like J.K. Rowling, who you can look at her work 20 years after the fact and then impose that kind of weirdness, quote
That
unquote, to
frame
it.
on it, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I
Okay.
guess my point is the charity that I think should be allowed here is that, yeah, we're looking at her work from a long time ago. And yes, Chris, I see that she's just raising this, this flag, this question mark saying, isn't it kind of weird? But the charity should be like, okay, well, what if she didn't even have her current thoughts or her current viewpoint at the point in which she's writing, right? What if her current perspective was only generated or developed in the last couple of years or 5 years or whatever?
I don't know, it
You
seems to
know,
be begging the question a little bit.
like that is the charity that I would expect to see. You can't like who you are, like who I am today is not the same person I was 15 years ago. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I see your point, Chris, though. Like that it is like if you look back on it and kind of be like, oh, I don't know, her opinions now seem to match up with some of the stuff she wrote. Did she kind of like I said, it begs the question a little bit. Be like, did she I don't know, was she including this stuff because this was always there?
within the mind of a transphobe, I guess. We're gonna.
Who knows?
I don't know. Well,
All right, let's continue on.
And there is no non-gendered word for magical person, only the binary witch or wizard. Knowing nothing of J.K. Rowling.
She's going off of like an old world model when she's reading those sorts of things too. Like, was she supposed to know about some sort of different term or to create one, I guess?
I don't. I don't know. Like I said, to me, that's more evidence that this was so far from her mind, her conceptual mindset on things. Most people see the world as gendered in a way, in a fashion. It's very common within cultures and societies to view the world through a a gendered framework. And so, for her to apply the stereotypical framework of male female onto something without considering a non-binary spectrum is completely and
It's
totally
a
just.
binary. Yeah, it's a binary. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying she's not considering the non-binary. That's what I'm saying. She's doing what most people see the world through and have seen the world through a large vast majority of history. And so it's just like it's so strange to me. It's like, yeah, I guess she didn't bring up the non-binary option because that's just not how people think about things or have thought about things for a very long time. And so it's just, I guess, it's like a shoulder shrug. Sure, I guess.
Yeah, I think John has a point though. She's basing it off of you know uh like Western European ideas of like sorcery and stuff. It takes place in the UK. But this is the language of those types of folklore, right? Did they have some? All the folklore I've read from those areas pertaining to like sorcery and all that types of stuff, there's no non-gendered like noun to use.
Well, like you even said, like witch and wizard are in the you know conscious, basically, the culture for a very long time. Like, it's been around. Those terms have been around for a very long time. They mean very some specific things, and especially when she's writing in '97, I don't know where she would pull from outside of those sorts of terms and just creating this sort of offset, I guess.
I guess it's just convenient. I don't know. It's weird. It's like I said. To me, it's just a shoulder shrug. I don't. Sure, I guess.
Whatever. Let's go.
Like sure.
It just seems like a nitpick, right?
Yeah,
It is.
yeah,
It is. It is.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what
just
it
a little
feels
bit
like.
like it is, but it's just kind of this is kind of weird, especially
As much
considering.
as much as I. Yeah, go ahead.
Rowling's personal opinions, you could probably enjoy Harry Potter guilt-free. However, you would have had to have been living under a rock to not have heard about her recent transphobic tweets that started as late back as December in 2019 and then culminated in a string of her doubling down in June of 2020.
So I did want to
So
read.
guilty.
I wanted to read what text or tweet she puts up on the screen, so we understand we're tracking everything for the audience here.
Heard about her recent transphobic tweets that started.
Dress however you please. Call yourself whatever you like. Sleep with any consenting adult who will have you. Live your best life in peace and security. But force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real. Hashtag I stand with Maya. Hashtag this is not a drill.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very transphobic, but
I don't
my opinion.
I don't know. I can't. I don't see how that is transphobic. But Marv, we need you, Marv. But
I can see how she might think it would be, but myself, yeah.
I don't really. Yeah. Do you have any idea?
I don't remember enough about the situation to like comment on this specifically.
Okay. All right. Well,
Or that
It's
person.
it's about the sex is real and sex realism. That's the
oh,
part that's transphobic.
sex doesn't exist argument. Is that the argument?
Social construct,
argument.
bro.
The sex doesn't exist. Sex is a social construct argument, I suppose.
It was the
And
moving of the goalposts from gender
the
to
saying, well, generally the people that often are pushing back by saying that sex is real often just don't understand the social construction arguments.
Maybe
Can't
so.
blame them for it, really.
Maybe so, but I think in general, in general, what J.K. Rowling is seems to be primarily accounting for here is anti-censorship, because what she's saying is that you force someone out of their job for
I don't.
basically for having an opinion that you don't agree with. And it's just like, well, I mean, whether or not you think that people who stand on the other side of the spectrum of the argument of sex isn't a social construct or sex is real doesn't change the fact that someone shouldn't perhaps be, I don't know, fired for saying that they think sex is real. There's, I don't,
Sure, if that's the instance, but what I was commenting on
so
was
weird. I don't know how
just
that's
that
transphobic. Go.
the sex thing is often a misrepresentation of the argument.
The gender argument you're talking about.
Just social constructionism in general.
Oh, well, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't even think that's what they're talking about. I think they're just actually engaging with the conversation of sex is whether or not sex is real or whether or not sex is a social construct.
Yeah, that is often a misrepresentation of that. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I guess. Sorry. Could you say that? And again, maybe I misunderstood you. What is?
So usually when people are talking about trans issues, the social constructionism gets brought up. And people often will remark that some people who advocate, social constructionists are trying to say that sex isn't real or arbitrary or those types of things. That is a misunderstanding of what social constructionism is saying.
Okay. Well, we may get into it a little bit. We may not. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just reading in general as she's saying that J.K. Rowling's putting up transphobic tweets. This tweet seems to me to be actually one mainly of anti-censorship.
I don't know if I want to get in that rabbit hole, anyways.
Yeah, maybe
Sure.
not. Maybe we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But
This one is. I don't really know. I can't speak to it, but there are other examples.
okay, all right.
Yeah, sure.
The thing is, she flat out calls J.K. Rowling a TERF, which I see a lot of lefties saying that.
I think she is
However,
a self-described TERF. No,
oh
I
really?
think she probably is.
I think she
Oh,
is.
okay.
I would.
UK, it is very prevalent in the UK.
Yeah, it's a much more common thing there.
Okay, because I was just gonna say her views align way more with late, like second wave, feminist thought than say current fourth wave or even third wave. And it seems to me that that's kind of been where that label has been casted, or the people that label has been used against have always been come from this earlier stage of feminist thought, like development, right? And you see it a lot with like Gen Xers or whatever. A lot of them were either late second wave, early third wave, right? Third wave is when we start seeing the all men are bastards kind of things. And then
Right.
fourth wave is your Twitter mobs and all that kind of shit. The introduction of internet into this sphere of thought, of feminist thought and movement, right?
Those
And
conservative TERFs.
yeah, it always seems like third and fourth wave feminists will use like the TERF label against those from second wave or like very, very early third wave feminism.
Yeah. Yeah.
The eternal struggle between the progressive and the conservative.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's hilarious. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move ahead.
Viv, did you want to read the next string of?
Yeah, I'll
tweets?
read them.
Yeah.
I'll read them.
Started as late back as December in 2019 and then culminated in a string of her doubling down in June of 2020.
All right. So there's a couple more tweets here from Miss Rowling. It says, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. Next tweet says, the idea that women like me, who've been, is it emphatic? Yes. Empathetic, sorry, that have been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e., to male violence, hate trans women because they think sex is real and has lived consequences is nonsense. Sorry, is nonsense. And finally, she says, I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say so. Chris, do you see anything here? I'm struggling. I'm really struggling to see something.
The highlighted line is kind of indicative of some of her thoughts.
I'd march with you if you were being discriminated on the basis of being trans. Okay. Could you
Do you
expound?
not? Is that not an issue? Like, to you?
Well,
Saying
hold on.
what
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
it says I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. That is the case.
Okay. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, so you're saying she's okay. I get it now. Okay, I see what you mean.
Sorry.
So
My bad.
you're saying that she is discriminating against them right now.
Well, it seems like yeah,
Again, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying it seems like that's something like that. If in the case that she's if she's saying that there's no, go ahead. You explain it, Chris. I don't feel like I've charted these
So
waters enough.
again, so generally, I will say that again. So I'll throw her a bone here and say this, right? Because I can agree that if anybody does make the argument that sex isn't real, and that there isn't a difference between men and women, like, one, it's probably not true, and two, probably coming from someone who I'm interested in biology, I'm interested in going to school and studying it formally. I enjoy learning about it, right? I don't think that argument would hold up. And number two, making that argument is probably harmful, right? Because our society, like, very blatantly has different standards for men and women because of our differences, right? And saying that there actually is no difference could genuinely lead to, like, harm to both men and women. If we were to, like, solidify that thought into, like, our legal system, for example, right? But again, this does often come up in, like, when talking about social constructionism, right? And, like, I will say, right, some people like what's her name? People like Judith Butler will make the argument that sex is also socially constructed, right? But most people who are familiar with social constructionism and have looked into, like, the literature a little bit more are generally not making that argument. They're generally not making the argument that sex is not real or arbitrary or anything like that. That's not what they're saying at all. They're just trying to acknowledge that we have. It's not just the biological realities, right? There's other things that we've built on top of those biological realities, and that these categories that we've created in society are not. They acknowledge that they're not arbitrarily created, and they acknowledge that it matters. Trans people inherently have to acknowledge that they matter because they're trying to inhabit
One
those
of the two,
categories.
yeah.
So exactly. So most people are not really making the argument that she's addressing here, which is, again, a mischaracterization, and then saying that, oh, if you were being discriminated against on the basis of being trans, as if it's, like, not happening, right? Which it is, especially, like, it's happening in the UK and it's happening here in the United States as well. Including, like, to the extent of legal discrimination, right? Whether some of these issues are difficult to parse through, um, but it gets to an extent where it is discrimination, like nonetheless, right? And a lot of people are making the argument that Rowling is making a lot of these comments and that they're very ignorant and should probably deserve some kind of criticism. Maybe if I was more familiar with like the things that she was saying personally,
It's
I
pretty
would
generic
I
turf
would
stuff.
well,
I
turfs are kind of transphobic if that's the case.
well, only thing I would say to what you said is that this is Twitter, man. I can't help but think that what you're saying is that it's not the argument that most people are speaking to. Is that doesn't change the fact that that's the argument that's coming J.K. Rowling's way. You don't have to say much
I'd really
you don't have
I
to
don't
say much
I
to get the
can't
Twitterati
say
after you.
I can't say whether that's true or not though. I really can't.
I'm I'm
Because
I'm
like
I'm going off of I'm going
well
off of my. Go ahead.
I personally have encountered the many times on social media in general, not just Twitter, the social constructionism argument. And it is often misconstrued as people saying that sex is not real.
Okay, that's fine. I can understand where you're coming from with your own experience there. I guess I'm only going off of what I remember being reported on this issue. That whenever J.K. Rowling said some of the more unoffensive things, like she said in the last tweet about her support of Maya not being essentially fired, um, the all types flock to her Twitter, and you get the extremists on the far left, and you get people on the right, you get people who are maybe where you're talking about trying to make a reasonable argument with her, and all of it gets drowned out in the madness of of Twitter.
Well, I was gonna say that
But I could be wrong.
I don't think a lot of this argumenting, like especially on Twitter, is coming from like an academic position, like what Chris was talking about, in
That's
terms
true
of
as well.
literature and stuff like that. It's a lot of it's coming from, like she says, lived experiences, things like that. A lot of the more subjective things about it, like especially on social media. I don't think anybody's engaging on that kind of level.
That seems fair as well. Okay. Okay. Well,
Chris, you trying to say something?
No? Go ahead.
okay. All right. I think we can. Unless anyone else has something to say, go ahead and move forward a little.
Yeah, we can move forward.
Funny, because that was what we needed in June of 2020.
Wait 1 second. I'm gonna back up so she has a little context.
In 2019, and then culminated in a string of her doubling down in June of 2020. Because that was what we needed in June of 2020. A millionaire author telling trans people that she would be on their side if they were being discriminated against. What do you mean, if? You are literally discriminating against them right now on the basis of them being trans.
So she shows that. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna. Right. So she thinks that tweet.
Is she though? Maybe I'm not understanding.
She. That's what I'm saying. So she's showing this tweet right here, and saying that this tweet is apparently transphobic.
For the record, it was the first tweet that
caused
was
the
read out.
Like,
right.
like I'll ask her, like, is she being transphobic in this?
This tweet.
I don't know. There's a hashtag of I stand with Maya. I don't know what this is referring to. I really don't.
I think if I remember correctly, it was about the lady who said women, like women are female or something like that in the UK and got fired from it. I think she was a journalist or something. I could be wrong though. That was like a big controversy for like a little bit, and I think it kind of took off with the turfs. I think that was like part of it.
I'm reading about it here in a sec. I don't know if I find something, but we can move ahead. We don't need to have to stay on this if we don't want to.
Yeah, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
We can move on, I think. Basically, it was someone who got fired who said, or I guess lost an opportunity at a job for saying that people can't change their biological sex.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm sorry, they said what?
I think it was the trans women aren't women sort of
said
thing
that
happened.
people cannot change their biological sex. Sorry, and then she lost her job.
I have no words.
So she
That's fine. We can kind
yeah
of move on.
she she took a case in an employment tribunal asking the judge to rule over whether philosophical belief that. Sorry, I'm sure. Yeah, sorry. What did you say, Arrow?
She basically, um, what's it called? Her opinion is that biological, you can't change biological sex, right? And just caught wind in the Twitter sphere and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was it's impossible to change sex, she said. It was basically the trans women aren't women and trans men aren't men sort of argument. Like men and boys are male, women and girls are female. It's impossible to change sex. That was the argument coming from her.
Just to point out, if that is the case, and I'd want to look into it a little bit more, but if that is the case, like that is a clear misrepresentation of like what trans people are trying to do.
I guess
What do
it
you mean?
seemed. Go
Hey, Chris, I
If she's saying, I'm
shared the
sorry,
link in chat,
if
by the
she's
way.
saying, thank you. If she's saying that people, oh, you can't be, you can't change your biological, like properties. No one, not a lot of people, no, many
Even
people are
I don't
not
know.
making that argument.
I don't even know if Maya's
That's
talking. Is
really
Maya talking?
silly.
Is
So
Maya
they're just talking past each other, basically.
is Maya talking to somebody who's trans? Is that what I'm supposed to in this context? So I guess we're getting really.
I don't know if she was talking specifically to a person, like on Twitter, or if it was just comments she might have just tweeted out.
All right. Well, we don't have to stay here. Okay. Let's go ahead. Move forward.
Against. What do you mean if? You are literally discriminating against them right now on the basis of them being trans.
All right, so Stanton, our producer, just said it's a big fail for the way of that framing. So we're gonna +1 on that.
What was it? Oh, okay.
I'm not going to unpack everything she said. That's not what this video is about. If you want to know more, Lindsay Ellis and ContraPoints have both made excellent videos about this already. J.K. Rowling, being a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist, and using her platform of millions of people to demonize trans women, by doing this, by spewing hate speech towards trans people under the thinly veiled guise of scientific evidence and feminism, she is putting a marginalized group who are already in a vulnerable position more at risk.
Okay, so there's before we dive into this next segment, which I think is kind of a loose argument at best, I kind of wanted to touch on the spewing hate speech part of that, right? Just because I think that term is tossed around way too liberally here in the U.S. and probably most Western countries. Stanton, if you could pull up the quote from Wiki about hate speech. Okay, so this is from the Wiki about hate speech, right? And what we have to understand is that hate speech is actually a legal term. However, here in America it isn't. So I'll read this. So a majority of developed democracies have laws that restrict hate speech, including Australia, Denmark, France, Germany, India, South Africa, Sweden, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. The United States does not have hate speech laws, since the U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that laws criminalizing hate speech violate the guarantee of freedom of speech contained within the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So here in the USA, in America, we don't have hate speech laws, right? We're protected by our First Amendment. However, in say like the UK, the accusation of hate speech is actually a criminal charge. Like people can, face penalties because of that, right? And if you could bring up UK hate speech laws parts 3 and 3A. So this is part of the hate speech laws from the UK, and they've been updated, every so often. So this is from I forget exactly what bill it's from, but this is actually in UK law. Okay, this is about hate speech. So it reads, a person who uses threatening, abusive, or insulting words or behavior, or displays any written material which is threatening, abusive, or insulting, is guilty of an offense if A, he intends thereby to stir up racial hatred, or B, having regard to all circumstances, racial hatred is likely to be stirred up thereby. And so nothing in this part shall be read but okay, so that was what it used to be. Then they added another clause to try and slide in, I guess, protections of speech, kind of like how we have in the US. And so that part reads, nothing in this part shall read or give effect in a way which prohibits or restricts discussion, criticism, or expression of antipathy, dislike, ridicule, insult, or abuse of particular religions or the belief or practices of their adherents, or of any other belief system or the beliefs or practices of its adherents, or proselytizing or urging adherents of a different religion or belief system to cease practicing their religion or belief system. So I think it is so weird to add this part because it literally contradicts the part right above it. And so far, from what I've been reading, they've haven't been very strict on their rulings on either side. Is this actually hate speech? Is this whatever? It just kind of depends on who the jury is or who the judge is at that time. And so if you could pull up the other one, hate speech laws penalty stand-in. So the reason why this is important is because these are like actual charges that can happen, right? So according to this, a person guilty of an offense under this part is liable on conviction on indictment to imprisonment of a term not exceeding 7 years or a fine or both, right? So these people on a charge of hate speech can be in prison up to 7 fucking years. So in my mind, the accusation or just, flippantly tossing out this fucking, oh, this is hate speech, like that's really unreasonable and that's irresponsible. And I would even go so far as if you are someone in the UK or any of these other countries that have this law to just blatantly say, oh, this is like hate speech or whatever, that should constitute some form of like libel or slander because you're actually fucking with someone, right? Who might be able to, you might be putting someone away for 7 fucking years, dude.
I think in the US, since it's not, it's
Well,
not illegal essentially. The way she's using it is probably different than what we would take in the UK term.
Right.
Oh,
And
of course.
I think that's the problem, right? Is that because there's no real
yeah, well, we can be more flippant here with it, essentially.
Right.
Without any sort of consequence. But I agree that like she shouldn't be just flippantly using it.
Yeah. I think even if there's no kind of physical ramification, I'll say there's no legal ramification that can be taken. It's still a social impact to that. So, I mean, I don't know. You should be careful what words you use in that way.
Oh yeah,
I
she
mean,
shouldn't be flippant about it, sure.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, especially if she's talking about J.K. Rowling, who, if I remember, still lives in the Isles, right? This is someone who can get fined, could be thrown in jail, right, by spreading this, this idea.
And wouldn't that play into the actual harm that she's bringing to it?
Right, media affects reality.
Oops.
Oh my god.
Yeah, might be a.
It's a fail for me.
That's a sticky situation. Nora's just put herself in by trying to be adamant like that. I mean, maybe it's what she believes, so she wouldn't back off it. But
she'd probably be okay. She'd probably be okay with J.K. Rowling getting fined, considering. But
yeah, I'm really curious what she thinks about Count Dankula and stuff. Because he's Scottish, right? He got fined £800. Like, something you don't have to put it out, but the Wikipedia on hate speech in UK actually brings up his case. It talks about Count Dankula getting fucking called out for hate speech because of his his fucking dog or whatever.
His pug.
Yeah. Like he got fined £800, which is over $1,000 fucking dollars, in USD. But he could have served time too, like that's just insane to me. He literally memed and got fined for it.
Right. It's certainly a serious accusation. At least for someone in Rowling's circumstance. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a bit of a.
I don't sorry. I don't agree that it should be illegal or codified into law. I agree that I like the United States and how we've handled it generally.
Mhm.
I don't think that I don't think that so it it being a legal thing, I don't think should if she wants to criticize if you want to criticize a person or some kind of work, I don't really think it should stop you. I think it like I don't know if it was a legal concept, I don't think it would I don't think it would stop being like bigoted if it wasn't legal. If it wasn't a legal concept, I don't think it would stop being bigoted. And that's deserving of criticism. But yeah, I don't like people going to jail over speech. No.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we all can agree with that. That America's probably got the better statutes in this
Just a bit.
situation.
Just
Yeah,
a bit.
just by a hair, right? But yeah, it's just yeah.
That's a big fucking hair, bro.
That's like a hair on your face, on your mole on the face kind of hair. Even if you take umbrage with just to speak to Errol's point, I do think that even if you take umbrage with what Rowling has said, to just dismiss her as hate speech, as what she said is hate speech. Um, Perhaps you say she's bigoted. Perhaps you may say she's hurtful or harmful, but throwing around those kinds of accusations, it could potentially be a problem. But I suppose at this point, Noralities probably thinks that if J.K. Rowling was going to get canceled, if she was going to be thrown in prison, she would have already done so, or it would have already been done so. So it's no harm for her to say such things, especially if she thinks it is true. So I don't know.
I think she should probably be more careful. But I also think that J.K. Rowling should probably
Be more careful.
be more careful.
Fair
Right.
enough. That seems fair enough to me.
Yep, I agree.
I guess we're all in agreement on that one. Okay, let's go.
Statistically, trans women were already more likely to be victims of assault because of transphobia. And J.K. Rowling's tweets aren't normalizing and excusing that behavior to millions of people.
You're gonna need a receipt there, buddy.
Yeah, so there's a lot here.
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, J.K. Rowling just said that she identifies with trans people along the lines that they tend to be what she says is more receptive towards male violence, and she said that she doesn't think that's good. I don't know how you say that she then wants transphobic people to the violence towards transphobic people to be normalized and sorry, did she say supported? I want to make sure I don't misrepresent Noralities, but it's just like I don't see how she's normalizing that, let alone making some tacit allowance for it either.
I would probably say you're right. That is a very weak claim, but also
Chris.
Connecting those
but
two
also
out.
look,
It's
it's a very weak claim. I will say.
so
Okay, to just
clinical,
be
man.
like,
So clinical.
yeah, no, I'm giving you a point here, man. Jeez.
I know you're fine, bro. Do you, man? I'm sorry. Don't listen to me. I'm being silly.
It's a weak claim for sure, but it also there's a discongruency between what J.K. Rowling is describing as like what trans people are trying to do, and then what they're actually trying to do, and then what she is describing that they're trying to do. There's like a big discongruency there, um, and that causes a lot of skepticism.
Okay, I mean that's perfectly fair to say that, or to try to levy criticism towards Rowling. Um, but I definitely don't, like you just said, I don't think that. Sorry, this one doesn't track. Sorry, but it's a hit and a miss. You gotta try that again, because this is really it's really kind of egregious, I'd say, to say somebody wants other people to be the normalization. She wants to normalize essentially beating other people for being trans. Or that's just kind of weird. Sorry. I guess there's not much else to say other than it's just weird and wrong that she would do that or say that.
Yeah, she gets into a little worse territory coming up in about half a minute where she starts citing this stuff. So one, this is already a misleading kind of headline, but we'll continue. Then I'll wrap back around for it.
And so our audience knows Noralities has put like a brief article on the screen that says has a headline here in the beginning of the article. Says, sadly, 2020 has already been. Apparently, J.K. Rowling is supportive of this in some form of fashion,
Latinx,
which is okay. Sorry, I'll make sure to say it with the
Don't you
don't you dare accent next time.
Not
don't.
Latinx, bro.
No, don't say that.
Latinx.
Don't say that.
Latinx.
Chris, I want you to say
That's
it
not
once.
cool. I would never say that word.
Chris, say it at least once.
Chris, are you Latinx? Are you the Latinx?
No, I'm not Latinx, motherfucker.
He's Latwinx.
All right.
Okay, let's go.
2019 and 2020, anti-trans hate crimes have increased 16% according to the UK's Home Office. This surge can be attributed to an increase in reporting, but it is also influenced by the increasing hostility in UK-wide media towards trans identity and
I think the reporting might have a bigger effect, but
Okay.
kind of like what she gets into a little bit later in the video too. I don't know.
How I'm sorry. Wait, what about the reporting?
The more acceptance has led to more reporting. That's why the increase is, I think, instead of I don't know about increasing hostility necessarily, but
What do you mean? No. It's probably already there. We're just like seeing it because it's being highlighted. We're paying attention to it now.
Right, but okay. So I want to.
This is a good thing.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if it's
so
increasing
tracking
hostility necessarily, but I
Okay.
agree with tracking it more. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's break this down. Okay. So they're saying. So I went back and I looked at the UK Home Office's stats. I looked into ILGA, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit. Okay. So the U.S. government statistics for murder, UK statistics talking about hate crimes, right, show a increase from about 2018 upwards. I think this article has a graph showing that too. But if you also look at the rates of people migration, there was a huge migration into the UK spike between 2018 to 2020 or 2019, I guess, before lockdowns happened. You also have a huge spike in kids coming out as trans individuals, right? You see this huge spike in the UK with that. And then it talks about, all-time record high, murders of trans individuals. Well, that's also a factor of reporting, right? Which she highlights here. But Stanton, if you could bring up the ILGA Europe about page so we can all see this. ILGA is a trans activist political group. They cite nothing in the articles that they're writing about that has any data to suggest, with data through any kind of surveying, that this increase or this surge of crimes against or the hate or anti-trans hate crimes surge is actually influenced by increased hostility. There's no citation of this. And remember, this is a politically motivated activist group, and this is being cited in this article. this is flimsy at best. This is yellow journalism.
Yeah. I don't know some moralities here. Let me see here. Did you?
She links. I mean, she links this article that she's highlighting, and you can get to those.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I was just looking for. I was looking for the information. Okay. Yeah. I don't.
So
I don't know. I really don't get the point. There's no correlation between the hostility and the deaths.
no. What I'm saying is that this reporting is framing it in a way that somehow, right, that it's pointing the framing as it being, oh, because people are somehow, for whatever reason, are hating trans people more. Like, that is the large
that's what
portion of that, right? What I'm saying is that this seems like a way more complicated, there's way more complicated, more diverse reasons for such things happening. But that is not how this thing is framed. It is framed as if increasing hostility, which isn't cited, isn't actually shown to be happening. This is the reason why. And people like J.K. Rowling are directly influencing this increase in hostility.
Or at least tacitly,
right?
yeah.
I
But
don't know, because like there are a lot of TERFs in the UK, and that is a big issue over there, a lot bigger than it is here. So I really, I see like people discussing it very heatedly over there. There is a lot more TERFs over there in the UK generally than there are in America. So like people, I don't really like this specific thing of like if there is in a country, if there's like very little acceptance of a specific group of people, do you not see how it may lead to some of these numbers like being as they are?
Can you elaborate a little bit more, or develop that a little bit more?
Like there's like I'd wager to say that here in America we're probably a little more accepting of trans people than just off of like the plain fact that I don't think TERFs are that prevalent here in America. I think the UK is gonna have like a harder time addressing like trans issues for the most part than the US. Like, and when you have an environment like that where you're not very accepting towards certain groups of people, because maybe you're in an area where there's just like a very heavily conservative leaning area, and they're not very accepting of these types, just LGBTQ people in general. Like, do you not see how sometimes like that can lead to these kinds of numbers where people are being killed
Hey, Zara.
and there's not and there's not like
Get off of my lap, Zara.
anything.
Ooh, baby.
There's not anything being done about it. Zara, please. You're making Wivik very uncomfortable. Thank you.
I don't know about uncomfortable. No, I see what you're talking. I see what you're getting at, Chris.
Okay, so if I'm being generous, I can say yes. That seems to parse. There's a potentiality there, right? If it follows in a very loose, like, logical way. If there's people here that don't like X group of people and X group of people are there, then maybe that there's some kind of increase, or these people might do bad things to them. But what I'm pointing out is that that's not necessarily the case, right? Two, this reporting is being backed up by an activist, a political activist group. And three, hate crimes, like we kind of talked about it, like that whole issue in the UK, like that is such a what is counted as a hate crime. Like, most times, I guess for rational people, we wouldn't even say that they are. So this
Alright,
inflation
I
of
am
hate
here
crimes and
now.
all that kind of stuff, like I don't know, I'm it's less that I am going directly against what you're saying, Chris, or what she's trying to say, and it's more like I don't think that this is a clear enough point to actually stand on. I think it's too muddled, and I don't think that she's brought it into clarity enough to actually make a point using this. Does that make sense?
Maybe I think I don't know. She maybe it is, but I don't. I think it's the my issue with the point wasn't that. My issue with the point was like linking what J.K. Rowling is doing to this, like specifically, right? Because that can't really be like measured, even though we can maybe say that she's contributing to some of the more negative sentiments towards trans people, right? But it's like a very weak point to make because it's not, at least from what I know of, right? It's not very it's not like quantifiable, right? But that's my issue with like this point. Not that there are negative sentiments towards trans people and they're being like murdered. I think that's like representative of what's happening.
Uh, I mean, if you're talking about the spike in I guess hate crimes or deaths, murders, that violent acts, then yes, that's descriptive, right? But this article and Noralities goes on to try and describe why these things are happening, right? And that's where I'm like, I don't think that argument holds a lot of water. You're bringing up stuff that is tentative at best, and you're using this as a tie-in, right? Like you said earlier, J.K. Rowling's kind of turfy stuff.
Yeah, so the tie-in is more of my issue, not these statistics. I think the statistics show like a clearly what's happening. The tie-in is like the weak point. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
Okay. Ready to move forward, guys?
Yes, I'm
sir.
ready as well. Zara, are you there? Are you finally ready to introduce yourself for this episode?
Yes, I am.
Hey, how's it? How's good to hear you. How you doing?
Rip. I'm doing amazing, I guess. Totally
Sounds
doing
like it.
amazing because of how late I am.
Well, okay. Well, that's fine. Better late than never. We're here towards the end of Noralities video, or I said towards the end. We actually only been gotten 4 minutes in, so I don't think you've actually missed too much. We've managed to talk quite a bit about some of the things that she said so far about death of the author and um, this issue around, particularly centering around J.K. Rowling and some of the things that she said.
Okay, but why are we bringing up J.K. Rowling?
Oh, she brought up J.K. Rowling in relation to death of the author, in relation to, if I recall correctly, some of the uh, the author's potentially harmful views as it pertains to a creation or a work.
Well, she was saying basically that J.K. Rowling's turfy views are normalizing violence and hatred towards trans people.
And I think she's saying that death of the author should be employed because people should separate. People should separate Harry Potter, which seems to be what she said is relatively problematic or there's no issues with it. They should separate that from something like someone like J.K. Rowling who has these harmful perspectives. I believe I could be wrong. Does that sound right to you, Chris? I think you have done a better job at tracking.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, so I think that's where we are right now. Because she was saying that she thinks death of the author has been overemployed, and she thinks that it shouldn't be used so much. But she does think that there are situations where it's perfectly legitimate, and this is the situation that she's describing. That makes sense there?
You get all that?
You got me?
It sounds a little hypocritical to say the least. Like I like the death of the author is way too overused, but I like this one thing and hate this one author, so we should use death of the author for this one.
Well,
If I'm
no,
understanding you correct.
It's not hypocritical. She did say it should be applied on a case by case basis, is what she said.
Yeah, yeah. She said, okay, it's fair to say she said it should be applied on case by case basis for her argument. In general, I just still think that argument is generally, well, we had our conversation about death of the author. Most people, I think everyone here agrees that death of the author is pretty descriptive. It's a descriptive phenomenon, talking about how people will have their own interpretive frameworks of or lens towards any kind of particular part of media or any kind of work, and that there's not much you can do about that, and that essentially, while people can have some kind of compromise with the author's original intent, and they can seek it out and they can try to understand it, that ultimately the work itself stands on its own merits, and that the author is it's fine almost in all cases, or if not all cases.
All right, that seems fair enough.
Okay, all right, we're all on the same page. Okay, I think you're up to speed, Zero. Okay, then let's go ahead and plow forward, guys.
Surge can be attributed to an increase in reporting, but it is also influenced by the increasing hostility in UK-wide media towards trans identity and communities. And knowing all of this, I cannot support her. To be clear, I am not going to harass her. I'm just not going to engage with anything she makes.
I'm not gonna harass her. I'm just gonna say she's
I'm gonna press X to doubt on that one.
and I know she's not harassing her.
No,
But
there's real consequences of things I'm charging her with.
yeah, as I was saying,
You want to go check the farms?
I'm not gonna harass her. I'm just gonna say she's normalizing violence against trans women. All right, cool. I get you.
This is a fail for
Then
me.
you can never read Harry Potter again.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Well,
I mean, you should probably read better books.
mm,
Hey now.
uh,
Seen
Hey,
a
it
movie
is.
or read any of the books.
you should read them.
So you're not good.
Look, that was my childhood.
Hey, Harry Potter was a wonderful. Oh, whatever. All right, I'm not gonna get into this with you. Okay.
all you youngins on here.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. What? Man, that was my childhood too. But anyway,
Yeah, I am very young. I am a child.
Yes, you are.
are you 11?
Okay, boomer.
I'm not. I'm 20.
Oh my gosh.
According to some people,
What?
that makes me a child.
Anyone
Yeah,
younger than
you're a
me is a
fucking child,
child,
dude.
so it is true.
You're just a
I say
whippersnapper.
you stop being a child at about 26, 27.
Yeah,
So am I the
fucking
only
boomer.
non-child? Am I the only non-child here?
Yeah, you're a boomer.
I'm a
Oh,
non-child.
you children! That's all.
I mean, I just turned 26 not too long ago, so I guess I'm.
Oh, welcome to the fucking party.
officially. Yeah, officially, I'm an adult now.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, who knew? So, I finally got my award. Finally got my ribbon. It says adult.
You get the
on it.
Did you get the contract? Did you get the contract too, or did they give it to you?
Is that taxes? Is that what you're talking about? I had those for a while now. That's a contract is.
No, it comes with a mask and a contract.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And existential dread. So looking
Yeah.
forward to that.
All right.
I just hate this idea that it's like I don't agree with her on her stances. I can't even like watch her stuff anymore or read her stuff anymore. To me, that just seems weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand some people having that perspective, and
If you want to do it. For me personally, it's just kind of like I can look at a work and enjoy it. It's like if somebody has a bad opinion or it's kind of a crappy person, I can just kind of like be like, they're a crappy person, but their work is good.
right. Okay. Well, let's go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. The older I got, the more okay, or the more of a non-issue it became for me when it came to viewing art or any kind of works by people who I disagreed with. Like, it doesn't matter to me. if someone holds a different political view than I, is a fucking asshat, you know, as long as they're not like, I don't know, murdering people
Most movies I've
or some
watched,
shit like that.
most movies I've watched or books
Right.
I've read, I probably would disagree with almost everybody in some way or another, even if it was politically. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I enjoy it. So
I do want to know what Norality's opinion on Salvador Dali is.
What is
Just because
Salvador? Yeah, go ahead.
he did the melting clocks and a ton of extremely famous surrealist paintings.
Right.
Oh yeah, and he was also a literal Nazi.
Oh,
like, was
how
it?
how quaint.
But he was also a gay boy, wasn't he?
That I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to what you think is personally acceptable. Because if you look at like things like the Golden Compass, there was a whole controversy around that sort of series, but it came from the other side. Essentially, what was it? Christians, I think, had an issue with it.
Oh gosh, I remember that too. I can't remember enough to say anything about it, but I do remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think they said it was like either like sort of like blasphemous or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's basically coming from the other side of the argument. Like they thought it was like, but it seemed to be unacceptable that that sort of thing is like it's a piece of art. Like you can't just like cancel somebody or you can't just like deny it. And the same thing happened with Harry Potter actually for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The world is on a pendulum, right? 10 years ago, it was the Christians getting offended and raging at everything. Now it's the now it's the libs.
Like it is funny to see kind of things just like take a sudden that sort of like shift over. Because the longest time Harry Potter was seen as like it's witchcraft. Like we can't have this in schools and we can't be showing our kids these sorts of things. And now it's seemingly shifted to the other side of the argument.
Still can't show things in school, though, because fuck school. Apparently.
Okay. We ready to move forward?
I'm ready.
And I'm not going to spend money on her work because one of the charities she supports could be anti-trans, and I don't want to even indirectly contribute to harming trans people. I loved Harry Potter as a child, but I'm not a child anymore, and I care more about trans rights than I do about a book about wizards.
Why can't you separate those two out?
Yeah, why can't you have both? I just don't understand. It's like
She said she's
symptom-
not going to support her monetarily.
Which is fair.
She doesn't want to support her. Yeah, monetarily is the sticking point.
But like, does that infect her like enjoyment of it too? Like, did she say that or did I miss it?
The
I mean,
implication was no,
if
it does not.
Yeah, and if it did, that would be like her personal like thing.
Which is that's fine.
I guess so.
I've just got this hot take of I was not buying JK stuff before it was cool. Back when she retconned so many characters.
Hipster Zara. Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, outside of her comments, whether or not they're transphobic or not, whether or not you may think so or whatever, she said some weird stuff about her own, just her own work, her like post retcon kind of kind of stuff where she makes Hermione a black woman and some other stuff. J.K. Rowling is a character, man.
Well, I am curious, like if she were to like say buy the books offhand, like secondhand or whatever, would she be able to like consume the content the same way? Or is it just down to monetarily supporting her? That's it.
I don't know, but that's what I was talking about in the first video that we did was that you can still, what if it's not like particularly messed up stuff, messed up anything, right? You can probably still enjoy it and talk about it and analyze it. And I said like my personal take was like what did I say? My personal take was like if you don't, it would probably be better if you could get it and not support someone monetarily. So, like, if you can get it secondhand from someone, like Azor said, that would be great. If you can pirate it, that's also like acceptable in my opinion.
So like she's just doing the whole like, well, if as long as I don't support her like monetarily, I can deal with the fact that she's a transphobe.
I mean, that's assumptions.
But no, isn't that kind of like moral? Like you talk about with piracy. Like I mean, I pirate stuff too. I mean, pretty much everybody does. But
Copyright.
yeah, well, I mean, is that just like moral
Oh, where's
piracy?
Marv?
Moral piracy, basically.
Kind of. Okay, so 2 points on this. One, she does make this point explicit later on. She says just pirate it, right? But what I also want to point to is that there seems to be a lack of integrity around there, right? Like a have your cake and eat it too. I can have my cake by not monetarily supporting this person, but I'm also still gonna, enjoy this work, talk to other people about how much I like it or whatever, right? Even though,
But that's kind
Chris.
sorry, but that's kind of the point of her like bringing up the death of the author, right, and separating the art from the artist.
Like I don't like some part of it just seems weird to me, where it's like, I'm going really hard against her for being a transphobe, but yet if I don't like give her some money, then I guess that's just like acceptable. I'll just consume and enjoy it.
Yeah, but why is
Guys
that
can
weird? I don't get
Consume
why
more,
that's weird.
consume product, wait for more product, consume
I
more
don't know.
product, wait
just
for more
se- it just
product,
seems weird to
consume
me,
more
so.
product.
I think it's fine. I think Chris. I think perhaps what Azor is pointing to is that it seems to be what I can taste, at least in the era, as a moralization of this entire thing, this sanctimonious thing where she's talking so much about how much she cares about trans people, and it's just like, well, okay. I mean, you seem to be talking about how hard you are or how much you care about this thing, but nonetheless, you still want to.
I'll toss it out when I can get it for free.
Yeah, and I understand that that's just rhetoric. That's just rhetoric. At the end of the day, if she's not supporting J.K. Rowling monetarily, she's free to pirate the stuff and engage with the work as it's meaningful to her. That's perfectly fine. And that's something I would support for her to do as well. It's just, to me, it's just like all this throughout the course of these two videos, is constant moral bloviating.
Yeah,
I
that's
get
what it kind of sounds like.
She's a woman, so use the right term, ovulating. It's
Yeah.
moral ovulating.
No, it's
I
Latinx.
wow. Well, okay, well, all right. Susan, don't cancel us, Susan, please.
Okay, that's
Go
good.
ahead.
Right, so hopefully I'm starting to make my point clear here about why this is so important and why the decision to use cancel culture is a spectrum that should be used carefully. If you think about it as a line chart, then dead people would be in the middle. Like, nothing is going to happen if you cancel them. You can enjoy their work, but you may want to know ahead of time if they were an asshole just so you aren't surprised by it. And on the far left, I would put people who literally have done nothing wrong. And then next to that, I would put people who did a bad thing, but unintentionally, and they tried to fix it afterwards. Griffin McElroy and Peter Benchley would be here.
Oh, okay, sorry for listeners. So right now, there's Noralities is showing a bar, a gradient, to show the spectrum of canceling. On one end, it's no cancel. The other end is super cancel. And right now, in the middle, she has like Lovecraft and dead people, what she was explaining about earlier. It's like maybe you can cancel them, but they're already dead, so blah blah blah. On the no side, she's talking about the Steven Universe and Voltron guys that she talked about in the first half of this video about how they got canceled for their ship or something like that. And then now she's talking about people in between the no and the maybe. So that's on the left hand side, far away from the cancel side, where it's just people that made an oopsie. And so from here, she's going to explain more.
Oh, and also Nintendo during the Jinx controversy and the Porygon episode accidentally triggering seizures. Like, they messed up, but they completely took responsibility.
Also, is Jinx a caricature of black people?
No.
No, I know she's not, but
It was Western people not understanding the reference.
yeah, I
Oh,
know.
that's just cultural differences right there.
I'm just saying. So Jinx is I guess so Jinx is whatever. Sorry, I'm getting caught up in. Okay, yeah, her point. I understand what point she's making. Jeez.
If I may make one thing, yeah, they regret the Porygon seizure, which is why Porygon Z has a fucking seizure anytime you send him out in the 3D games.
That's
That's
fucking hilarious.
Nice.
that's some sense of humor they've got there. That's some sense of. Oh goodness.
Game Freak, oh, I miss old Game Freak. They gave no shits before Gen 6.
As it should be.
Responsibility for their actions and changed them in the future to try and repair the damage as best as they could.
Just before it loads, man.
I'm so confused.
What the hell, man?
Are we? Whatever. All right.
But
They
that was
they
a
can't be
limitation
black
of color
characters.
palettes. That was a limitation of color palettes. Why are you? Okay, for those listening, she's showing the what's this? Oh,
Blossom.
I think it's
Blossom.
Blossom. Yeah.
Old demo sprite, which if you didn't know, was a completely black with white sprite in the demo. But my problem with showing this is that was due to a limitation of a Game Boy's black and white color palette. It's like this is severely one of the worst examples you can ever show.
Right,
Well, no,
because in
it's black.
promotional like drawings and stuff, that was not the color.
Exactly.
supposed
Blossom has always had this weird green color, even during when they were creating the demo sprites. It's just a limitation.
Sometimes people decide to make issues about some of the most inane things. Okay, I guess is that what we're doing, or is the meme on falling on us right now? I don't know. Maybe by giving this more attention than we need to, we're falling into the trap these people have. I don't know. This
These
is
people
weird.
are children.
This is weird.
And then we get to the midpoint where this person was kind of a dickhead, but he's dead, so it doesn't matter. Like, you gotta use your own personal judgment for these.
All right, so Noralities put a little disclaimer here on the screen, and she says, also, listen to people from those groups when they say something is racist or sexist. They're not a hive mind, they won't all have the exact same opinion, but if the majority of them say something's a problem, please listen.
Now, what if none of them say it's a problem and you still listen to one bad actor?
Like Latinx.
Well,
Like
Perfect
orcs are
example.
actually secretly black people.
It's like these people, listen to the group. But whoa, don't they're not all the same, so like just take some opinions of some people in said group.
I'm going to be charitable and say I can understand where she's coming from. I think she's just saying if you can track a general majority, if that's somehow trackable, like I said, of
Huh?
people within a demographic or group of that you're interacting with, regardless of what that demographic may be, whether it's race or sex or some other thing. It could be just the fact of the matter that you're in a group of people who like to play video games. If you're in a group of people who like to play video games and they tell you there's a problem or an issue, you probably should just be concerned with the general atmosphere of the social environment that you find yourself interacting with, which is perfectly standard piece of, I don't know, social advice that everyone should have learned. when
Yeah,
they were,
sure.
like,
I
in the-
think a lot of the time that comes actually from a loud minority from that group.
that's
But
that's probably fair.
Yeah, I was about to say this is literally her not understanding the concept of the silent majority, vocal minority. And yeah, of course she would support this. It always gets her specific way.
yeah.
Maybe so. I'm maybe so. I think I'm gonna be full of Chris here. I'm so full of Chris. No, no. I was just. I think I can understand where she's coming from. I guess until she goes off and veers off in the left lane, I'll think I can say what she just said. There seems to be it's fair, just fair.
Yeah, if there's a loud majority of people saying something, you might want to listen. Sure.
Yeah, the problem is there's almost never a loud majority of anyone saying anything.
It's just,
Let's not get into the political theory, but let's just say the majority tend not to be the most not to be the most progressive people in the world.
it's just context specific, and I think it's probably better to say it's context specific on an individual basis. just the people around you. You should listen to
That's
the
fair.
people. You should listen to the people around you.
Well, yeah, obviously. I'm not saying like going out and like interacting with people
Yeah.
and just ignoring the crap out of them. That
Right.
usually would kind of be a dick move.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on what she said?
Nope.
Okay.
Good. And then we get to the midpoint where will it accomplish anything? Is the book that they wrote still perpetuating harmful ideologies? I don't know. Then finally, on the right side, we get to a person did or said a bad thing a long time ago. Again, you have to consider the context of when the statement or action was made. If it was brought to light, did they apologize sincerely? Are they in a position of power because maybe they shouldn't be? And then next to that, I would put people who are promoting hate speech or donating money to hate groups. People like J.K. Rowling and Orson Scott Card actively being transphobic and homophobic are hurting the LGBT community and they shouldn't be supported.
So is now the time to bring up that she, by her own definition, is a pedophile?
Look, I hold on.
She's a Shotokan. That, by her own definition, makes her a pedophile.
I don't know. What do you say to that? I know.
We brought this up on
Yeah,
our
no,
first stream. You've seen the pictures.
We've seen the pictures. We all know what she made. I suppose she falls into the category of someone who made an oopsie but tried to fix it. I don't know.
Nope, she falls into the category around promoting hate speech, given that
No, I don't.
No. I only meant the area, not the literal small, tiny thing. Because let's be frank, this is so childishly simple-minded that basically everyone can theoretically be canceled.
Right. So Zara, in the first part of this video that we recorded yesterday, we actually went over a segment that I thought was very telling of what this episode was. To me, I think this episode, or this video, from Noralities is a huge projection type of thing, right? And the quote that I brought out was this quote where she said, "You can be a good person and still does terrible things. Being a good person does not automatically excuse you from the critical examination of your own actions and holding yourself accountable," right? And to me, like, having heard that, having watched the entire video, having known what type of art that she likes, this almost feels like kind of going to what Vivek said, that she'd probably put herself made an oopsie, right? I feel like a lot of this is to build a framework to excuse her own behavior.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward when if you see something like that. It's hard for me to know 100% if it's the case, but it feels pretty plausible. It feels really plausible.
Yeah, but the problem is going by her own definition, she did what the majority of human beings think is the worst possible thing you can do / be on an individual level. Obviously, genocidal assholes are worse.
I'm trying to see if that's true, and I think how she's defined pedophilic. I don't think that she thinks that she's as bad as the creator of Dragon Maid, because he made a doujinshi and she didn't make anything like that.
Yeah, she's an artist who's drawn lewd stuff before about the My Hero kids.
She did make some lewd stuff, but it wasn't a doujinshi. So I'm sure she may think that she's still not as bad as those people.
Yo. In Noralities' defense case, she didn't draw 200 pages worth, bro.
In her defense, she did not draw 200
It was only
pages.
20.
She did not draw 200 page doujinshi. That's true. Yeah.
Fucking consequentialists, read.
Well, according to Chris, that would have taken a very long time.
Bats. All right.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you, Chris. Very cool. All right. We can go ahead and move forward. Unless somebody else has something to say about
Damn artist.
And
Fuck you,
then
guy.
all the way on the right,
you guys play nice.
where
Love you, bud.
this person absolutely should be canceled, is people who do a actual crime like the author of Rurouni
this
Kenshin
did not
possessing
age
100
well.
DVDs of child porn.
Why?
Just keep going. Just keep going. You'll find
Alright.
out.
I do have a question though. Like, it's a weird, and it's a little bit of whataboutism. So, if somebody commits a crime, we should then like not or cancel them essentially, right?
Well, I mean, I think you can
I
argue
think
that we do cancel them. We
Yeah, I was
put
going to
them,
say,
we put them in prison.
Cancel them
They're in
pretty
prison
hard.
Hold on,
if they committed a crime.
it's very dependent too, because like I was thinking about a little bit earlier, like in rap music, right? Plenty of rap artists have committed crimes, right, or at least talk about it. But this seems to be that sort of thing. But yet they become rich and fine. People support them. Like,
So-
where's the line in that?
The line is probably a little bit variable. Those probably are specific situations where someone can gain enough social.
She did.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but she did say like a crime. Like, I'm sure that there's plenty of rappers that have like actually committed crimes, but that's just like them saying things, right? Like them, like if there's like actual evidence and a rapper is arrested, then we can say that, right? Then we can be like, oh, okay, he's an actual murderer. He wasn't just like
Maybe
making
outside,
stuff up.
maybe outside of murder too. It's like
I do think there's
there.
It doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, rappers do talk about like doing a lot of like illegal things, but like you can do that, right? Saying that you sold however many ounces of cocaine doesn't mean you're breaking the law, right? Like there would have to be an actual investigation, right?
But like, why doesn't that work for the hate speech argument with J.K. Rowling?
Because fuck you.
No.
I'm sorry, I wasn't making fun of you. I was making fun
sorry.
of Noralities. Continue on.
Yeah, I'm just like, again, her, like, again, we here, right, don't have anything that would punish her legally, but there's plenty of social taboos that we punish socially as well, right? That's not the only way someone can get canceled. Getting legally canceled is like, the ultimate form of cancellation.
But why
It's
don't?
like
But why
being
don't
put
we?
away
Why don't we socially
for
cancel
life.
people? Why don't we socially cancel people on that side of it then?
I think we do. I think
we do, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Hold on a second.
Rappers sometimes I don't know. About
We
that.
did. I mean, OJ. Who here likes OJ?
Okay.
OJ's
Yeah.
not a rapper.
I like
or
orange
media creator.
juice.
Well, no, Chris. No, okay.
But
That's
OJ.
OG has
he was in the
millions of
he was in the
followers on
Naked Gun,
Instagram,
too.
bro.
all right. Hold on, Chris. I got you. Okay. So the point is that for a vast majority of individuals who find themselves guilty of a crime, you get canceled socially and legally. Like your reputation is shot. You don't get to get it. It's very hard for you to come back and get a job, and some of your freedoms have been revoked. The way that you roll and communicate with people in society is almost forever changed unless you do a lot of work to come back. It takes a good amount of effort. So a lot of people do get socially canceled as they get legally canceled, as to say. But it's just rappers typically have this kind of it's a unique.
Almost an immunity.
Niche.
It almost seems like kind of an immunity to it, but
It's a niche.
not.
It's a niche within you might say the broader culture of gangster rap, or within the broader culture of maybe the Black community that engages with this kind of with those kinds of performers. That
I get it. Yeah, I think the standard is a little bit wonky sometimes, but
I don't. So I brought up OJ because the law basically failed to put him away when like most people think that he probably did it. And like socially, I don't think he's someone that's like looked upon in a positive light.
Yeah, he's a pariah, I'd say. Because people don't like the OJ.
Well, yeah, I can understand with OJ.
He's a meme in some places. It's amazing what the man can say and then get away with. I am amazed some of the things.
Didn't he write a book about murdering his wife? If I did do it, like this is how I would have done it. It's like, okay. I can understand from that point of view, people being like, dude, come on.
All the proceeds of that book went to the Goldman family, which is doubly fucked.
Which is just so weird.
Hey, can I ask a question to all of the internet? Can we just never refer to being punished for crimes as canceled by law ever again? Please, I'd rather shoot myself than hear this this phrase again.
Yeah, pretty.
I don't know. The
annoying.
law be canceling really hard. I don't know.
Okay,
I'm not even talking
I'm gonna
about
go find a gun now.
Stop.
Bye.
Yeah, so here's the title of it. It says, so I found an article with the headline says how O.J. Simpson says he would have murdered Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman if he did it. In 2006, the announcement of a book by O.J. Simpson in which he would give an allegedly hypothetical account of the murders of his ex-wife Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman made waves. Originally titled O.J. Simpson's "If I Did It, Here's How It Happened."
So
Should we cancel OJ again?
Oh my gosh, it was in 2006. But this man, it's amazing to me the kind of things you can say and just get away with, bro. It's
this man,
exactly
just,
right.
He's just what do the Zoomers say? He's just default dancing on the corpses of his victims.
Oh wow, OJ. Okay. Whew. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, let's go ahead. We've all come full circle now. Huh?
Matsuki, the writer of the manga Act Age, groping a middle schooler. All right, so I don't know how much clearer I have to be about my opinion on this issue when.
So, wait, hold on. Matsuki will not serve 18 months in prison if he remains on good behavior for 3 years.
Yeah, so just to add some clarity, the Act Age writer. So Act Age is one of those manga that has a writer and an illustrator. Sorry, and the writer was the one who got busted for groping children. Basically, he was like riding his bicycle around a train station, and as he rode by, he like groped some chicks and stuff. And he did it twice or something like that, and they caught him on camera. And they brought him in.
Okay.
Okay, but how do you do that twice?
Yeah, I guess you get away with the first time.
He supposedly biked to a different station or something like that, or it was like an hour later. I forget. I read the article when it came out, but
oh yeah, okay. Well, that's a weird one. I don't know why he would do that, but I guess it's obvious because he's supposed to be a pervert. But what? So it says that the sentence is suspended for 3. Oh, the sentence is suspended for 3 years. Oh, okay. I see. Okay. I was just trying to figure out how he gets out. How he gets out in 18 months if he remains on good behavior for 3 years. So, okay, I get it.
Yeah, so it's basically if he doesn't do anything that makes them mad, then he doesn't have to serve time, right?
Right.
Act Age, groping a middle schooler. All right, so I don't know how much clearer I have to be about my opinion on this issue when an author you like does a crime, and I mean like.
It's a tweet here from the Pixelated Boat that says the whole internet loves Milkshake Duck. I don't know who this is, but loves Milkshake Duck, a lovely duck that drinks milkshakes. 5 seconds later, we regret to inform you that the duck is racist.
It's just solely a joke.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I guess she's.
That joke also doesn't make any sense because there's no crime in being racist, unless you believe in thought crime.
I'm guessing this is supposed to. Sorry, she's probably making a broader point. She's just using this as an example.
Probably. I'm just agreeing at the fact that I don't like this example.
I just don't. I just don't know if this is an actual situation where somebody got canceled or not. So anyway.
Like a crime that hurts people, not something like shoplifting or embezzlement or whatever.
Shoplifting
and should withdraw your.
So yeah
shoplifting and embezzlement does hurt people. This fucking fuck.
Wait, did she say embezzlement doesn't hurt people?
She said shoplifting and embezzlement doesn't hurt people, and they're just like that. Her opinion on any form of crime should be just fucking thrown out.
The whole point of
child who doesn't understand how shit hurts people.
I think the whole point of crime in general is that it's meant to be it's just meant to be some kind of damages. Usually, that's why it's considered as a crime. But I mean, that's not to say that all crimes.
Yeah, it monetarily hurts people.
Yeah, it's not to say that all crime is that way, but most crime is typically a crime because there's some aggrieved party.
Like selling drugs.
Yeah, this is a failed counter for me, bro. Big failed counter.
It's weird. No, it's just like you didn't think. Nora, you got to please think more about some of the things you say. That's all.
I
You
think
know,
she did. I genuinely think this is a moral failing.
I don't know. I do think that there's some. We've been dealing this entire time mainly with Chris making the steel man of her arguments because of how she formulates them, and it's not that I don't see the reasonable perspective behind what she says. It's just that I just don't think that's what she's saying, and all she would have to do is just take some time to redraft and rethink what she says and present it in a more concise fashion. I really think that's the issue with most of these videos. So she doesn't stop to think about how she presents this stuff, and she ends up creating these terrible videos as a result.
These
I don't
videos
know,
are
man.
offensive to my basic bitch moral sensibilities.
Sorry, outside
as a
of-
normal person.
Outside of what you said about her seeming to make this video as a justification for her behavior and her being called out on Twitter from having created some Shotokan fan artwork of My Hero Academia.
But not just that, dude. Like, I don't know, what is she actually saying that, you know, posting some shit about like negative shit about trans people online or talking about them online in interviews is somehow worse than fucking shoplifting or embezzlement? Like, what the fuck is she talking about, dude?
I don't know if she's making that correlation.
She did
Well,
imply that embezzlement and shoplifting is not a crime worth canceling over.
She did. I think
it doesn't hurt people, is what she said, right? Like,
yeah, she did.
like, what are you talking about? If someone embezzles retirement
Fair.
funds, like, who the fuck is getting hurt there? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
List of things embezzlement can hurt.
Arrow is so funny. Embezzles.
It's like literally the worst argument from the biggest incorrect view of the care harm fallacy I've ever seen. Like, holy fucking shit. Commie scum, get away from me, read.
Oh my god.
You know, I would put money on the fact that she would flip flop her stance on shoplifting if it was like a minority shop owner or some shit, dude. Like, this shit is so fucking dumb. Like, I get so frustrated about this because, like, I think white collar crime is so damaging. Like, it has wrecked so many people's lives that I know of. You know,
Right.
No, yeah, any sort of crime is just doing that.
but
call it black.
like for some reason, you know, like, it seems like her idea is like, oh, it's just embezzlement, right? Like, what?
It's just shoplifting from the local corner store. Like, fuck off.
It's just embezzlement. It's just that's the statement right there. It's just embezzlement. You can see it.
I hope someone embezzles the $2 she gets from Patreon.
So, yeah, you know, that's fair. That's a little silly. You get kind of if you get teased for that, you get what's coming to you for that. That was a silly thing to say.
Yeah, it's very stupid.
A crime, and I mean like a crime that hurts people, not something like shoplifting or embezzlement or whatever. You should withdraw your support from them because, like it or not, if you don't, you are supporting the behavior that crimes are okay if that person is famous enough. You may have heard of
Fuck off, commie. Please stop.
What?
I don't know about that.
Okay, hold on a second now.
She put pro-communist propaganda, and I'm just thinking, like, shut up, commie.
I'm trying, Chris. Hey, Chris, we need you.
Chris, please steel man her using communist
Chris, we need
propaganda
you.
in order to
No,
say that having lots of money
What was
is bad.
What was? I don't know if she said that, but
That's what her
was
picture implied.
Well, it's just we'll back up.
Picture?
We'll back
Yeah,
it. We'll back it up a little bit.
not something like shoplifting or embezzlement or whatever. You should withdraw your support from them because, like it or not, if you don't, you are supporting the behavior that crimes are okay if that person is famous enough.
So,
okay. So what she said was if someone does crime and you support them anyway, you're supporting the idea that it's okay because they're rich.
They're famous.
I don't. They're
Sorry,
famous. Oh, famous.
yeah,
They're famous, so it's okay that they committed a crime.
yeah. Which I don't.
Well,
It doesn't
okay,
track. It doesn't
so
track at all.
that's a really blanket statement. So maybe no, but
Maybe no, Chris.
no,
Chris,
Yeah,
please,
maybe
Chris,
no.
maybe no.
Chris, please be committal. You
Chris,
can say
really
no.
blank.
doing crimes if you're
statement.
popular enough.
Chris, you
No,
can
but
just say no.
so the point is no, wait. So
Yeah,
what
go ahead,
I would
Lucas.
say to her is like, what? Okay, how I maybe would have said this, and maybe she doesn't. This isn't maybe what she was trying to say, but what I would say is just, you should probably acknowledge if someone did something wrong. You should probably acknowledge it, and if it's something that, again, like the Rurouni Kenshin author who was actual CP, you should probably think twice about buying the manga from or DVDs and stuff from a source that will will support him monetarily, right? Is how maybe that's not what she's trying to say, but that's how
Well,
I would have gone about it.
she's
Her
interpreting
statement
this
is
as any
is too
form of
much.
support is bad.
I don't think so. I think she's specifically referring to monetary support.
But then why would this be in the cancel tier then? Like, this is the you should morally cancel these people by her own broken moral system.
But what do you mean? If you cancel somebody, why would you then monetarily support them?
Because most people don't find a reason to cancel someone because they committed a crime.
No. Well,
most-
if you do though, if you do cancel someone, why would you continue to monetarily support them?
Most people won't. I'm saying that this is just her trying to apply her unbroken morals onto other people.
I mean, sure, but that's a lot of these conversations, anyways.
I just don't feel like this standard would be consistent. But
What's not consistent?
I think it would depend. I think it would depend probably.
She likes
on
Steven
her
Universe
view.
and she likes Steven Universe, and Rebecca Sugar has also drawn some what she would consider child porn.
I
I don't really have any evidence.
I
to say
don't
it's
know
not
anything.
good.
Yeah, I
It
don't
would
know.
be
I can't-
consistent, but I just have a feeling.
I wish I could speak more to that, Zara. But so I guess I'm kind of reminded of the Roman Polanski argument from before. Not Roman Atkinson, God forgive me, but yeah, Roland Polanski. He's still alive, right? So I don't know if
Yeah, he's in Europe. He's
Yeah.
on the run. He's literally on the run.
Right, he's still alive though. So if you liked any of his films and you buy the film, does that mean that you support a crime because he's famous? Or
Well, if you're monetarily supporting him,
Well, if you
she would probably say yeah.
what is he not? I mean,
No, if I remember, she directly said, if you support them, not monetarily, but if you support them.
I'm pretty sure she's
She talked more
referring to
about
monetary
monetary.
support.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying though. Like, I imagine he
If
would.
sh-
I guess maybe he's already been paid for the films. Maybe that's how it would work as a director. He's already been paid for the film, so maybe he wouldn't have some kind of accruing interest with every new purchase of said film. So maybe I'm wrong to use him as an example. You have to get an appropriate example where someone gets direct proceeds from each compounding purchase of said work.
Yeah, my
So
thing
like if you
is,
have
if she meant that you shouldn't financially support someone, she should have just said that instead of just saying support. That's my biggest problem is, I don't think we should support someone. No, I just meant financially.
Well, I mean that is a way you would support someone. And if you just take it like generally supporting them, what would that be? Right? Would you then would you like argue for like Roman Polanski's innocence?
No.
I
That's
don't.
like equally terrible.
No,
I think.
support
I
is
would think.
usually in this conversation talking about what's the word? One second, my brain is not working at the moment.
I think
Consuming their media or products.
I think she's
She-
made a pretty decent distinction between
yeah,
those.
I think she's making it. I could be wrong, but I think I can see what Chris is saying. I think she's making a clear distinction about monetary support because she seems to support. If that's the case, that means she supports J.K. Rowling, which I'm sure she would definitively be.
But back
again.
previously, whenever she brought up J.K. Rowling, she made specific mention of only monetarily supporting that, which directly means.
Well, there are pictures of money bags on the screen, but that's not enough. We can back up for a couple seconds to see what she says.
It's people, not something like shoplifting or embezzlement or whatever. You should withdraw your support from them because, like it or not, if you don't, you are supporting the behavior that crimes are okay if that person is famous enough. You may
Right. So
does that only apply to? Yeah, it's just literally only applying to monetary support.
I'm going to assume
Then she should be using the words monetary support because support in every conversation does not just mean monetary support.
I'm going to do the charitable thing here. I think I'm just going to say she's talking monetarily because she talked about the Rurouni Kenshin author and pulling from her previous video and almost every other time she's mentioned the Rurouni Kenshin author has pretty much been in the context of the idea of supporting him monetarily. And
except for when she brought up all of those video essayists just talking about it.
Oh, it's true. Oh.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why
she
like,
doesn't
that-
want people to
yeah,
even
that
talk about Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah, that's true. I try. Okay.
Yeah, that I disagreed with. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Now I'm back in limbo. Okay.
Does it sound morally bankrupt, or is it just me? If it just hinges on that,
I'm going to assume she's not directly contravening the point she just made about supporting J.K. Rowling. I'm just gonna hope within the world of hope that she wouldn't do something like that, and that would yeah. Let's just be charitable and assume that she's carrying over the meaning of monetary support without saying it because she's.
I have no doubt she's talking about monetary support.
Yeah. Okay. Then. Yeah. Right. Just want to clarify. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Gosh, I was just trying to figure out if whether or not that statement itself seems like it tracks. And so the statement itself was, if you support someone, even if they've committed a crime, you're saying that it's okay to commit crimes if you're famous. And I
have an important question. If they're gay and famous, can they still commit crimes? Because she is a leftist, after all.
I would say so, probably.
I would like to think.
I have no idea.
I would like to think she would condemn Kevin Spacey. I'm sure she would.
But no, he was just being gay and doing crimes.
Well,
I don't know. I don't want to assume anything on that part.
I said condemn Kevin Spacey.
I think she would pretty clearly condemn him.
Yeah, I think she would. Even though I don't think Kevin Spacey.
But no, they connect on a spiritual level because they both like little boys.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
She's a big no for Diddley.
I don't remember.
Diddley.
I probably shouldn't have even brought him up. Okay. Okie dokie. I think I'm ready just to sit with this one and move on. We can move on from it.
It's okay. She gets way more spicy very soon.
I have heard a version of silence is a form of approval used in reference to.
Right. Okay.
Oh, hey, look.
So on the screen,
right.
So on the screen, she has some tweets from Watson, and they say as such, trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. And there's another tweet that says, I want my trans followers to know that I and so many other people around this world see you, respect you, and love you for who you are. Okay. All right, Noralities. So let's go ahead and see what you have to say.
Are okay if that person is famous enough. You may have heard a version of silence is a form of approval used in reference to social reform. There's a version attributed to Plato. There's a version commonly incorrectly attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but is actually by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, an American author and poet. To sin by silence when we should protest makes cowards of men. But my favorite is by Martin Luther King Jr. from his speech on the war in Vietnam. A time comes when silence is betrayal. I cannot, under any circumstances, understand how people still try to separate the art from the artist in circumstances like Nobuhiro Watsuki, the author of Rurouni Kenshin, after knowing what he's done. Why would you still want to read anything this guy made after knowing that?
Right. Okay. So now we're back. Now we're back to engaging with it at all.
Yeah, that's not monetarily. That's just literally engaging with it in any aspect.
Oh my gosh! What are you doing? What are you doing, Nora? You got to, Nora. You got to stop.
With this, I would just say, well, I disagree with this. I'll just say that first.
Thank you.
Just to make sure, I disagree with this. So what I would say, the way I would put it is that since like earlier she was putting it on like a continuum, right? So like what I would say here is like it's like if the media itself isn't problematic in any way, but the creator is, that's probably less of an issue than media that is problematic alongside the creator. And you can like, and the media itself, as long as somebody is like, again, engaging with the media and acknowledging that it has like some issues, I wouldn't see the problem. If you also acknowledge that like the author knows, if you have that information and you know that the author of Rurouni Kenshin is a pedophile, and you acknowledge it and you're like, yeah, I'm aware, I do condemn him, that's not something I think is acceptable, but I like the story of Rurouni Kenshin and I'm gonna like keep reading it, watching it, appreciating it.
Yeah, I completely.
That's fine by me. Right?
It seems to me that seems mostly like moral busybody work, and that you like something made by a bad person. Well, that either makes you a bad person or ignorant. It's like, yeah, maybe I just don't give a shit. That's something that doesn't affect me or anyone near me or anyone within thousands of miles. It's genuinely.
Or it's just like I like the story.
That's a good point. Sure, like maybe, but there are definitely people. I will say this: there are definitely people that actually are ignorant or just outright refuse to engage with any of those things.
Yeah,
and I think that's valid to point
don't
out.
fucking judge them on not knowing something that, by all accounts, a normal person shouldn't.
She would agree with you that in that sense. She has said so.
1 second, everyone. Stanton, is everything okay on your end? I guess you'll have to clip this part out, but is everything okay on your end?
Oh, god damn it, Stan.
Okay.
And we're back.
All right. Okay.
Hi, Stanton.
Yeah, you'll have to cut that part out right there where we paused, but that's okay. So my issue is you just seemingly contravened what you said about J.K. Rowling. Then, like, so it's not okay then to even engage with J.K. Rowling's works because she's someone who normalizes the violence against trans people, right?
Well, hold on.
Quote unquote.
Hold on.
Well, sorry, is it just about people who've committed crimes? Sorry, is it just about people who've committed crimes?
No. That's not the thing. It's not. No, that's not it. It's there's a difference to her between the media being problematic and the author being problematic. She acknowledges that Harry Potter, the books, are not problematic, but J.K. Rowling is. And that's why she doesn't want to support her monetarily, right?
Well,
That's
I
why she
get-
brought that
hold
up.
is that's
No,
not what
no,
she
no,
just said, though.
well, hold on. That's the point I'm making, Chris. I'm saying
That's
the moral prescription she's just laid forward, saying I don't understand how people can support or want to even engage with or read Rurouni Kenshin, knowing what the guy's done, is that carries back over to her previous point about J.K. Rowling, or just the previous context of it. And so the point is that it's like, okay, so if we're saying that people, you can't even engage with the work if you know the author has done something despicable, then it's like,
well,
well,
I don't. Did she say she?
Can you
She was,
rewind it just a little bit?
yeah,
maybe?
I'll rewind it just a little bit.
No. She
Whoa,
said.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
One
I
second.
don't think she said that. I don't think she said she still engages with the Harry Potter thing. Did she?
She does still engage non-monetarily with Harry Potter.
Yeah, I think that's what she was saying, is that she still enjoys the work, but she's not going to support her monetarily, and that's why she went through that entire spiel just to get here to condemn someone for even engaging with it.
Well,
And
that's why I brought up the second hand. Like,
so weird. I'll back up a little bit so we can get a little context.
Okay, well, let it play all the way out, because if you think that was bad enough, she gets way more morally descriptive, or like pleading at the ending.
Okay,
She
okay.
answers a lot of the questions that we just you guys just posited.
Okay, all
Fun
right.
fact: buying manga really does not actually support mangaka that much.
oh,
Martin Luther
that's
King
probably far.
Jr. from his speech on the war in
Yeah,
Vietnam.
I got you.
A time comes when silence is betrayal. I cannot, under any circumstances, understand how people still try to separate the art from the artist in circumstances like Nobuhiro Watsuki, the author of Rurouni Kenshin, after knowing what he's done. Why would you still want to read anything this guy made after knowing that? Why would his story
So I
be
guess
more
it's-
important to you than his consumption of media of children being sexually abused? Please try to conduct yourself with a little bit more empathy.
This is ironic.
How to move forward.
Okay, so
I just love the
So-
no. You don't have enough empathy. Like, yo, no, fuck you.
yeah, okay, yeah, it's a little condescending there, but in general, so what I was just thinking about as she was saying that is that I see what she would do is she would put J.K. Rowling on a spectrum, and obviously the Rurouni Kenshin's author is much worse, as she just did. But the point is that what if someone puts J.K. Rowling on close on her spectrum to the Rurouni Kenshin author, because they think that J.K. Rowling is like she said, normalizing and even supporting and making an allowance for the violence towards trans women. And they think that that is just as despicable as, or I wouldn't say that more despicable than. I would like to think people have some degree of measured understanding of these issues, potentially. But the point is like, okay, so they think it's maybe just as bad as. So it's just like, well, then you've kind of inadvertently created the kind of moral paradigm
Purity spiral.
where people can essentially say, well, it's the same dadgum thing.
Well, wouldn't she be more consistent if she was, instead of saying just consuming it or reading it, wouldn't she be more consistent, say, to buy and read it?
Yeah, she would be better to
No,
say.
because she's going literally by, if you support this in any way, you're part of the problem.
No, if she had said to buy and read it, John, if she had just said to buy and read it, it actually would have been fine. But she didn't say that. She said,
Yeah.
I have issue with you even engaging with it as a result. And I'm saying, well, you've just created the moral paradigm where someone can do the same dadgum thing to J.K. Rowling.
Do
And-
anything
and
as...
you'll end up finding yourself in a spot where, can you disagree with them, or you found a system that's going to end up falling in on itself here.
I just want to point out that this media that we were watching is normalizing embezzlement.
It's also normalizing pedophilia.
Oh my god! Oh no! Oh no! Anyway, sorry. Is what I said make sense? Am I coming from a weird place? What do you guys think?
No. I think what you're saying makes sense. I would have gone a bit further in saying that I genuinely believe she's doing this out of malice. She doesn't like the people who make content on Rurouni Kenshin, probably because they make higher quality content. So, no. So you see, those people just lack empathy.
Oh, gee. Maybe so. Maybe she's all embittered. I don't know. But I'm inclined to think I don't. You know what? I don't know.
No,
what
I
I'm
just
thinking.
think, I just
I'm
think
not
she's
going to
being
speculate.
I just think she's being a little inconsistent.
Yeah,
That's all.
it seems. I agree. I agree, John. She seems to be just being inconsistent, or she's just not thinking about what things she's saying.
She's making a YouTube video. She has all the time in the world to think of every last word she uses. I don't think that's an excuse for incompetence, in my opinion.
Oh no, we're not making excuses for it. We're just trying to figure out the reason. But okay, all right. Let's go ahead and plow forward.
It's just fiction, not reality, is comforting. It is easy to think that there is no harm being caused by the media you are consuming because to you personally, it may not feel like there is any harm done. Anecdotal evidence, like you watched a murder mystery and did in fact not murder anyone, misses the point because the problem is not the individual impact, it is the collective.
First off, fuck off, collectivists. Second, oh man, I can't believe video games cause violence.
That is literally what we were talking about before.
Oh my gosh! Oh my!
I don't think that.
That sounds like the video.
It's not this part, but further into it, I think. She's
Okay, all right, yeah. Sorry, maybe I should stop stopping her. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Most people who watched Birth of a Nation were not impacted, but some of them were, enough to cause the resurgence of the KKK.
Why are they?
I think that to a lot of
I
anime
genuinely
fans,
need
this is a-
citations for that.
I think that is the
That did
case, yeah.
happen. That is why I think sometimes the video games cause violence argument gets brought up. Just because it can affect the real world in some way, as we can see with the Birth of a Nation, but
Well, okay.
Yeah, but in that
The
case,
KKK literally used it as like recruiting propaganda. So
right? But the case, I think, what it points to is if most people can see propaganda and are not affected by it, right?
I don't agree. But continue.
If that's the case, okay, then
Well, that's what Noralities just said. So are you contravening Noralities?
no, well,
Chris?
that what I'm saying is
said-
that
you
it's
said-
not
no,
it's not Chris. Wait, it's
Sorry.
not the works, not necessarily. Well, then the question arises: is it the work's fault or is it the fault of these individual people, right? And that's largely where, like, video games are violence and movies create more violence. That argument, kind of the backlash to the argument comes from. If 90% of your audience doesn't get negatively affected by this, but 10% does, then is it actually the fault of this media, or is the part of the blame with that 10%, right?
Consequentialists would say, yeah, that is the fault of the 10%, as they are the minority in this case. The majority did not have a problem with it.
I would probably say it's both the media and the people who it is affecting.
I guess the media kind of leads them towards that sort of thinking.
That's a
You already for something like Birth of a Nation, right? The negative sentiment towards black people and just generally anybody of color and immigrants was like already there when Birth of a Nation was made. Those sentiments are then like further pushed out into the public consciousness with a film like that, and in creating like the narrative, right? So like the narrative of the movie was like, we need to protect our white women because they're in danger because of these savages are now free to roam the country and rape our women. Like that like spurs on these people to
Yeah, it becomes
then,
very visceral.
yeah, exactly. So it's both the people and the media, because if those sentiments don't somewhat already exist within the people, then the media isn't going to resonate with them in the first place for them to then eventually take some kind of action.
Yeah, definitely. For some people, it definitely happens that way. I mean, it could be like almost any form of media. Like even like what Catcher in the Rye kind of caused that. It was a very, very small minority, but that's the argument made against it sometimes.
So again, in general, so how is this going to tie back to what we're talking about with Lolicon? At any point in this video, has she ever proven that this is in fact the case? that this is something that you can chart, maybe like you can do so more with the birth of a nation, but can you chart this with Lolicon that is contributing to what she's called the increased child sexual abuse statistics in Japan?
So look, I'll make the same thing, right? I'll make the same argument, right? So in Japan, we know that there's like increasing reports of child abuse. We know that their system doesn't necessarily do a good job because they do things like they allow children to return home with the parents that are abusing them, and they don't really take any steps to protect them. And it's generally a very stressful home life because Japan has a very strict culture, especially in regards to education, right? So things like that don't lend itself to like the best treatment for kids necessarily, right?
Psychologically.
And then, yeah, and then you also have people that are producing media, in which you have children are like partaking in sexual activities and so like pedophilic media, right? So what are the chances that this culture is going to take any serious action against that when in real life they don't really seem to be taking the abuse of real children with any kind of like there's no like urgency to help these kids. They're not like doing a good enough job.
And I mean, I would disagree about the urgency because it seems like that's been increasing like tenfold. It's been increasing more and more every year. And the statistics that we showed,
yeah, but they still have laws that will, like the way those centers function is that a child will show up and tell them, my parents are abusing me. They'll call the parents. They'll just ask the parents, hey, are you like abusing your child? They'll just say no and send the children on back, and they don't like follow up on that in any way. So like,
what do you mean?
How can you?
Most of the increased numbers come from the police agency, where it seems like the police agency are taking a more active. And matter of fact, that was what's stated, is that not only is the society at large getting more actively aware of these kinds of things, which is why you're seeing an increase in the general numbers of these cases, but like police officers as well are actively being more aware of it and like investigating cases where they hear about child abuse, particularly. Yeah.
But the main resource that they've had for a very long time was I forgot what those wellness centers, I think they're called. That was like the main resource that they had for a very long time.
Okay. I'm thinking more.
I'm pointing that out because that main resource was not doing like a good job. The laws didn't really like push them to like look into these cases or protect the kids or take any steps to protect the kids.
I'm thinking more like in the last 5 years or so, which would be more relevant to the point of Noralities' what Noralities is saying, where she, because that goes back.
No. But the point is that this is like extant in the culture, and it has been for a very long time. Yes, and maybe in the previous 5 years, maybe they're now addressing it. But the point is that it's like very deep seated in the culture.
Well, so the point is that was the point that me and Errol were pointing to you. Like, how much of this is actually? Well, how are you going to say this is more? This is more. Lolicon is in fact contributing to this increase, when it's in general just seems like it's more just general awareness around the issue itself. And then when you see things like the actual sexual abuse statistics are still remaining fairly constant. Like, while the cases are increasing because
child abuse, the general child abuse reports are skyrocketing.
Yes, general child. We're talking about. Hold on. We're talking about child sexual abuse. We're not talking. Listen, we're not talking about.
No, she said child abuse.
She did say child abuse, and then she slid child sexual abuse under the rug there, because she's talking about Lolicon and sexualizing kids.
Are we gonna just discount everything? Because
no, I'm not going to discount everything, but I'm saying this is a very specific argument, so you need to be very specific.
She's she's talking about child abuse.
No, not all child abuse is the same,
She's
Chris.
okay, but she's talking about child abuse. Maybe specifically, it's like very
She's-
specifically pertaining to child abuse, right?
Chris, she's talking about
when she said it very specifically. She said child abuse, which includes sexual abuse.
Chris.
She's talking about it in a general sense.
Chris, Chris, no, she's not. And the reason I say she's not is because she's talking about lolicon. Lolicon would be the one that's contributive to child sexual abuse. You're using child abuse to bolster your claim about sexual abuse. That's exactly why she did it.
And
if I could jump in real quick, just
okay, go ahead.
a clarity thing. So remember, her point about like lolicon and all that was that it normalizes sexualizing minors. That's the point that she was making, right?
And it causes harm. She's very declarative about that.
Okay, so I'll reiterate. So how is it that a culture that has been for a very long time failing to address any of those issues regarding child abuse, how do you think that culture is going to react when people are making pedophilic content?
Lolicon just makes me want to beat children. I don't know about you guys.
So, Chris, we talked about this yesterday in the way that Chris, like,
I'm trying to give you
the
the overall argument that she's making here, right? We're going back to the media exists within a context. It doesn't exist within a void, right?
It doesn't exist within a vacuum.
Vacuum, yes.
Right. And well, I agree that it doesn't exist within a vacuum. But the point is like, this is the point that I was making, is that you're talking about the increase of these child abuse statistics in general. And that's why we brought up the idea of CP being officially made illegal in 2015. And I brought up the idea of this issue in Japan around child abduction, about child abduction laws and how people can just up and take their kids if they're the what's it called? Anyway, the parent with the owning parent. That's why I'm saying it, but I know that's not the right term. Anyway, guardian. Thank you. They're the legal guardian of the child. And in Japan, when people get divorced, there's no co-ownership. One person is decided on. So it has a liability to happen in any situation where there's a divorce. So the point is that like Japan has these weird laws around that, where someone can essentially abduct their kid and disappear, and a kid can disappear against their own will or against the will of against the other biological parent. That kid can just be ripped out of that person's life and then disappeared. Japan makes allowance for those kinds of things. And so if Japan has these kinds of perspectives when it comes to how it deals with children, how much of this is just Japan's lack of awareness around kids, or how much of this is like lolicon and the kind of culture around lolicon? That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know to what degree that's contributing to what the statistics that we're seeing are. And it seems in general, it's just a degree of awareness around these issues. And it seems like how am I going to then say that, yes, it is lolicon that's doing this?
I think the important part is the second.
Go ahead.
The second point that Viv isn't really saying out loud is that degree matters when it comes to her argumentation, right? Because if it turns out that degree of, like lolicon or whatever isn't really a large contributing factor, or even a contributing factor to the rise of this awareness or whatever, then that refutes her own argument. However, if it's significant or whatever, then that does support her argument. The fact of the matter is we don't know, right? And until we do know, like, using this overall kind of speech about child abuse really doesn't do anything except this weird like just moral panic kind of thing.
Video games cause violence. Lolicon causes children to get raped. Sorry, go ahead.
So talking about child abuse and bringing awareness to it is doing nothing.
Chris, no, that's not all what we're saying.
That's a different conversation, dude.
Chris, we're not talking about that.
I'm gonna go back to the original thing, okay? The original point I was trying to reiterate is that, do you not see? Okay, maybe I'll give you this, right? We don't know to the exact extent that Lolly is contributing to it. Sure,
I don't even hold on a second.
Wait, just let me finish.
Chris, I just want to be very clear.
I just want to finish.
Chris, I don't even know to the exact extent is to me. It's like we don't even know to what extent. That's exactly where we are with this. We don't know to what extent.
Yes, but can I continue?
Okay, go ahead.
But you do acknowledge that it is contributing to some extent, right?
I don't know. Because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. That's like the point.
Again, I know that's the point, and that's what she's saying. She's saying it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists within a culture that doesn't take these things seriously. That's why it exists and is so prominent. And somebody like the Rurouni Kenshin author can just get off with a slap in the wrist and a mere fine and not go to jail, even though he actually had however many DVDs of real child pornography. That is the point.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should just move on.
No, hold on a second. So I'm thinking. I'm trying to think about this. I understand the point that's being made there, and I think that's perfectly fine point to make. My point is, though, even within that, it's like, I don't know. No, I just don't know. That's where I am on that. I can see the point that's being made, what you just made. If the issue is to the degree, the specificity is important. Because if you're going to talk about condemning lolicon, you may say, well, it's contributing to some degree. Well, okay, it's contributing to some degree. Maybe. But what do we do about that is the next question. And that's, like I said, that's kind of leads back to some of the previous points that I've made about the nature of her video. What do we do about that then? Do we go ahead and we start making laws and decisions and things around the nature of lolicon because we think that it's doing this thing? What are we saying about it? What should we do about it?
My response to this was that is not the purpose of the video. That's not what she's tackling.
She's making a moral prescription, Chris.
No, she's trying to be descriptive and then giving prescriptions for other things about how people should engage with media, not about the laws that we should have on the books to address these real life issues.
She's criticizing Japan, Chris. I don't know. It seems self-evident within the context of the video that if you're criticizing a media, if you're criticizing a people, culture, you're making a moral prescription. You're telling people what they should do. I just don't. I guess it's like, yeah, she's not saying that part out loud. It's just hanging there and there.
She is saying, she is speaking to what people should do. She's just not speaking to what you want her to speak to, which would be like, what do we do about this in a legal sense? She's speaking to how people, individuals, should engage with media.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about.
Okie dokie. Oh, okay. Seems fair enough to me.
A very uncomfortable reality, which is what makes it hard to accept. Nobody wants to believe that a show they are watching ended up contributing to the normalization of child abuse or general sexism, because if they are an American, they did not see it affect them. And unless they are willing to do research and look further into it, they won't see how it's impacting Japan either. It's easy enough for some guys.
So the argument that's being made is that no one should engage with lolicon ever. That's interesting. Okay. Not even the Americans, because Americans shouldn't support it because it would then support the Japanese media in which it's pertained within the context of harming children within the broader culture of Japan. That's what I'm being told right now. Am I tracking that correctly? Because not even Americans should engage with it, even though Americans can engage with lolicon because they live in a culture that's not in a vacuum that would actually condemn such things. So even if they do engage with lolicon, they're not going to come out right and support it. But Japan, on the other hand, its culture is in fact problematic in the way that it's actually harmed by such things. So no one should. Hello?
I didn't
Yeah,
catch what she said.
Okay, hold on a second. You can go back.
Nobody wants to believe that a show they are watching ended up contributing to the normalization of child abuse or general sexism, because if they are an American, they did not see it affect them. And unless they are willing to do research and look further into it, they won't see how it's impacting Japan either.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how you would qualify the impacting Japan statement.
So the impacting of Japan is through monetary support. So because it's monetarily supporting an industry that allows for lolicon to be pervaded within a broader culture that seems to have issues around how it handles general child abuse as in general, that therefore, because we're not sure or we don't know to what degree lolicon is affecting the broader increase of child abuse across Japan, Americans shouldn't even be engaging with it, even though Americans can engage with it, understanding that it's not affecting them because of the broader culture that they live in, because their culture teaches them that such things are not allowed and should not be normalized. I'm just making sure I understand the coherent argument here, because it's kind of it's getting real. Yeah. Anyway,
We're doing the 100-year energy cost thing, dude. We're just like 4,000 steps removed.
oh, I'm just trying to. Does anybody is where I'm coming from weird based off of that, or what?
No,
Am I doing too much?
I think you're tracking
seems
correctly, and that my problem is that we are so far removed at this point, right?
Right. Well, I was just saying, it's like, okay, well, I guess so. I mean,
Right.
it's fine, I guess, perhaps to have that question for yourself as an individual, and you can say to yourself, well, you know what, I'm going to take up the moral mantle to make sure that I don't contribute to anything in any kind of way that could potentially harm. And so it's just like, okay, I'm staying away from it at all, completely, no lolicon at all for me. And that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. But the point is that even understanding that you don't actually have a concrete descriptor with to what degree lolicon is actually causing the problems that you're actually worried about adversely causing, for this to be some kind of thing that should be extrapolated to I don't know, a large set of people to follow, seems to me to be rather, well, you're asking too much, perhaps.
It's easy enough for some guy to dismiss my argument by making a comment about how Japan has one of the lowest accounts of rape, so the repeated fetishy depictions of assault in super popular anime like Goblin Slayer or Sword Art Online is totally fine. And yes, that is a true statistic that is easily Googleable, but it is a misleading statistic if you aren't willing to do any more follow-up research. Because if you did, you would find articles describing that Japan's rape statistics actually increased by 27% in just the first half of 2018, reaching more than 1.3 thousand cases. The reason for this being is back in 2017, the definition for rape in Japan was strictly only defined as forced vaginal intercourse, but it was updated to include other forms of sexual assault and also men as rape victims, which up until that point had been excluded entirely. The revision also eliminated a requirement that the victim needed to file a criminal complaint before a case could be prosecuted.
So I just want to say that that's a very nuanced take from Noralities, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree.
All this to say, it's not that Japan magically had less rape cases, it's that they were being underreported. When addressing these kinds of issues, you also have to consider that Japan has a long history of personal shame culture that tends to blame incidents like these as some kind of personal failing of the victim. In 2016, a government survey indicated that nearly a third of Japanese women have been subjected to sexual harassment at the workplace, including inappropriate touching and unwarranted advances. Nearly 2/3 did not make any complaint about the harassment, either formal or informal, and approximately 1 in 10 who did complain were penalized for having done so, including suffering demotion. And again, I am not talking about this because I think America is some bastion of moral integrity, or because I want to shut down this one commoner, but I am just so tired of people desperately trying to make arguments about things that they know nothing about, and aren't even willing to do any more research into it, or even change their viewpoint when confronted with new evidence. I feel like truth coming out of her well to shame mankind. Because these are such uncomfortable topics, no one really wants to talk about it, let alone listen. And especially not on a platform like YouTube, which has historically pushed women out of the creative space for, voicing their opinions.
What is there? Okay.
I honestly think if this is a Gamergate comment, bro, this is a +1 on the film counter.
I don't know what it is because she doesn't.
I don't even know if it's Gamergate, to be honest.
She just makes a comment and it's like, well, I guess that's supposed to be true. I can't validate it. Won't validate it. Just I don't know, man. All right. I don't even know what she's talking about. That's how lost I am on it. I actually just don't even know what she's pointing to. She's alluding to something, you can tell, but I've never seen it on YouTube. Seems like they're always trying to get more content creators, and I mean, I know other platforms. She's not talking about other platforms, but it seems that there's a general push to try to promote female content creators across the board in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's definitely been going on for a while.
Yeah, I don't.
And not just with women too. It's been other.
And she made this video. She made this video in 2021, so it's not like she's not living in the same space here. Does anybody else?
Yeah, no, I don't know, man.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm just griping. I apologize.
The horror. Many people just use anime as an escape from reality, and they aren't thinking critically about the deeper ramifications of the media they are consuming. They just want to see someone get punched in all its beautiful animated glory. And if that's the case, just use piracy, please. If you really want to separate the art from the artist, just don't give them your money, at least.
Okay, just want to address the fact that she is literally
illegal
promoting an illegal act, which I thought we weren't trying to normalize illegal behavior.
It's on a
I don't know,
spectrum. That's the argument.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's on a spectrum. Obviously, piracy is not as bad as supporting Rurouni Kenshin's author. But by even engaging with it, I don't know. It's
Also, to one last time on Dragon Maid, and then I never want to think about this again. I know the animation industry is hell, and I know KyoAni is still recovering from the damage caused by the arson attack. And if you want to support the anime production team, because in truth, the content of what they are adapting is not their fault. And the only way to do that right now is to watch Dragon Maid S, then sure, yes, absolutely do that if that's what you think is right. Life is complicated, and there is no one right way to live it. We just have to do the best we can with what we have. Since media does have an effect on reality, and the things that an author says or does can create real harm in the world, then as consumers, how are we supposed to engage with media? If we cannot blindly enjoy everything, must we cancel everything? No. What? No. What? At what point did I ever even, how would you reach that conclusion? The thing is, in life, you're gonna come across a lot of shit you don't like, and you're gonna have to make compromises. Unless you're a white cis het man, like I mentioned in my isekai video, you.
Oh, there it is.
Whatever, man.
What I don't know what there's to say. What is there to say here at this point?
It's just underhanded shots at that point.
Yeah, man. I mean,
you have to compromise to enjoy the majority of media you interact with. At best, you'll be underrepresented, or worse, represented in a way that drives you fucking nuts. There are things that really bother me in Hero Academia. I don't like that Mineta is basically a walking plot device to create fan service of the girls. I don't like that the default for female heroes tends to be sexy, and I don't like that the girls never get as much limelight as the boys. But I know this show was made for teenage boys, and the
yeah, let's address this a little bit because
they got plenty of limelight in your. I'm sorry, I need to stop.
like.
Oh, here we go.
Is she saying that a supporting cast member should get more limelight than the main cast? The main character, in fact? What is this, dude?
To be fair here, My Hero Academia, Horikoshi is pretty excellent at fleshing out the side cast, and he's pretty well known for that. Like I mean, he generally has a really vibrant side cast. And he's done like a pretty good job, like giving each of those side cast members like their own little arcs to explore them. Like Kirishima, which was pretty epic.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, which is why this criticism is very strange to hear.
She's probably just hyper focusing on it. That's probably why. But I agree that My Hero definitely flushes out a lot of the side characters, and it's a weird argument.
Just seeing a lens here.
She's just no, but she's pointing out that the side characters that are being chosen to flesh out are just the boys. Is what she's pointing out. Which I'm not caught up with the manga specifically, so I don't really know if that's true.
No, the female characters definitely have their time in the limelight. It is from time to time, but I don't know, like a good cast too was like Naruto was the same way in a lot of ways. Like a very fleshed out cast, but like
Naruto
reminds me of it a little bit. Like they weren't as fleshed out
I
as they
don't think so.
My Hero, but
no, Horikoshi definitely does a better job.
Yeah, Horikoshi does a better job in general, just dealing with, I would say, women or side characters. But I'm thinking, I mean, Horikoshi does have a side manga where one of the side characters, supporting actors, what's her name? Popstar,
Popstep.
Popstep. Sorry, that Marv's Avatar is based on, and so it's just like, well, seems to do a pretty good job fleshing that character out. She's a female, but as far as the main cast of My Hero Academia is concerned, I can probably acknowledge the boys get a little bit more of the limelight, but that doesn't mean that the female side characters aren't fleshed out as well. I think that they're given plenty of room to have their motivations and a general understanding of how they see the world as well.
Right, but this framing just irks the shit out of me. There's a reason why. There's a very simple reason why that the male supporting cast might be focused on more than the girls. It's because right, but the reason being is that Deku is a dude, right? And through a lot of the other male characters in the cast, there's elements of their personality and the way that they, overcome challenges that Deku learns from, and that he sees part of himself in all of those other men, right? So this fucking, or he wants to emulate, right? Pretty much all of the male cast, he that actually have like story arcs and stuff and development are all characters that Deku can relate to and does relate to and does learn something from and uses them as a basis to grow from, right? That's why they're highlighted more. It's, he's not going to highlight just from a writer's perspective. Like that's what you would do naturally, right?
I suppose the pushback to be applied there is that Horikoshi could have Deku learn these things from a female hero as well. Though I don't know to what degree Deku's interacted with his I forget her name, but the holder of All for One, not All for One, but One for All, before.
Is it Nana, right?
Nana, yeah. For a second. Toshinori, before Toshinori. So, yeah. I suppose maybe there's a point to be made there, but in general, I just don't. Like I said, she said it's a personal gripe. I guess what we're really saying is whether or not the personal gripe has any merit to it. But at that level, if it's just her personal preference, what can you say about it? Say if this is just your personal preference. Okay, still does a good job storytelling, so it's not a big deal to me.
The pros generally outweigh the cons for me. I know myself, and I know I can engage with media critically, and I know that I'm not going to accidentally start objectifying women after watching Hero Academia. Which is why, at the end of the day, I cannot tell you what is good or bad. You've got to use your own judgment. With something like Studio Trigger's work or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, my expectations going in have to be a little bit different because of the kind of off-the-walls storytelling they encompass. I can't hold Araki's work from 1987 to the same standard as the 2000s or even now because the landscape they were made in is completely different. Problematic is a vague word that is used very broadly. We have words for being openly racist or sexist or transphobic, but referring to any of these things as merely problematic is kind of like referring to a dumpster fire as, ooh, that's a little bit toasty. If something is problematic, it means that there's a problem. It may be a small problem you're willing to overlook, or it may not even be obvious until you examine the context around it. Or personally, it may not even bother you at all. But you should still know that it's there. And if someone tells you a thing is a problem, maybe don't shut them down immediately and also do your ding-dang research. Canceling someone sounds so final and terrible, I think in part because some people do use canceling as an excuse for online harassment, which do not do that. Cannot understate that enough. I do not care what they did. Never send anyone death threats. But really, if you're wondering if you should cancel someone, all you have to do is just not engage with their work in a way that monetarily supports them. I loved
Okay, I guess there it is.
Okay. I guess
Well,
after everything else she said, I
Yeah,
guess.
she wants to pull it back to that.
Yeah.
framing.
I mean, I guess she's saying, well, if you can't see my point of view on the issue, then just don't do this. Okay. Yeah, I suppose after you've made all your moral condemnations and all the things that you've said, sure.
Rurouni Kenshin as a child, and I loved Harry Potter, but I can't love them anymore, and that's fine. I would ask yourself, what really do you lose by choosing not to engage with a piece of media? In the end, after all, it's just fiction, not reality. You've lost one story that you will no longer finish. It may seem hard at first, but there are billions of other stories out there that haven't been written by racists or actual criminals. I can lead you to the water. I can tell you where the water comes from, that humans need water to live, why it's important to conserve water and keep it clean. But I cannot make you drink the water. You gotta make that choice for yourself.
Is the water the truth here? Is that the truth? She leads me to the waters of truth to drink from? When, by the way, that she represents these things?
Drink the water, comrade.
I guess. Okay. Framing has been everything for this, I would think. The general points that she makes are understood, but the way that they're framed within the context of her moral posturing, her moral condemnations. I mean, I don't know if you're leading me to the waters of truth to drink from. It doesn't seem like you're leading me to those waters. It seems like you're leading me to the waters of what you think, honestly. But I suppose what else can you do, right? I don't know. Well, anyway.
More than you than last time. To the new subscribers or the people who started following me after the Dragon Maid video and got this far, hi, welcome.
All right, I think we're done here.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's just talking to her subscribers.
All right, gentlemen. What's the feels?
I felt like she wasn't very consistent in certain parts, especially with the morality of it. But she did tie it back together with the monetary support as being the thing that brings this all together. In terms of if you don't support them monetarily, then it's okay to just pirate their work and not effectively steal from them, but it seemed a little bit weird to see the morality was a little bit off, but I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the points of the death of the author and how we can't separate the things that we really like from the people that have written them. And if it's only hinging on monetary value or like they can give them, I think it's still kind of bankrupt.
I'd actually like to hear Chris's take on that, because I know, Chris, you've talked about prior that you wish more people would support, artists and stuff, like not just get all their shit free.
Yeah,
Where
I
is
think
that line for you in this context?
in this context of like someone being like what, actually bigoted or committing some kind of crime.
Right. Yeah. Like, would you flip on that
In that,
pirating and not
well, yeah,
support?
in that context, you should probably not support the person.
Do you have any general closing thoughts about the video, Chris? Anything that you want to reemphasize? Anything that you want to point out, or anything that you want to criticize? Anything like that?
I think one of the only things I really disagreed with was the not in like her making her making the decision to not engage with media and urging others to not engage with media that come from problematic sources. I don't agree with that. Generally, I think if the media itself isn't really all that problematic, like those Harry Potter books, I think you're good to generally engage with it. If the author happens to be the problematic one, then I go back to what I said previously about trying to find alternative sources to get that media physically, so as to not monetarily support them.
Arrow, do you have any closing thoughts, man?
Sorry, I was grabbing something. I think this portion got a little bit more preachy. Oh, sorry. Preachy as from the first one, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But I still think that we ran into a lot of that issues of framing, right? I think one of the big things is trying to tie, this argument that she was trying to make about, spicy media influencing people to do potentially illegal things, right? I don't think that that's there. I don't think that anything brought up really works in that realm, because there's, when we're talking with Chris about that, that potential, right? Sure, there could be a potential that having media like this in a culture that hasn't really been aware of the kind of damage it could have been doing, right? Like problematic media could be doing that. But where Noralities kind of starts her argument is already past the most important question, I think. And that question would be, does it actually influence people, right? She's operating on the assumption that
it does.
That it does, and that it makes up some portion of some kind of influence into people normalizing that type of behavior or engaging in, illegal acts. Where I think more fundamentally the question should have been, does it even, right? And that's like my biggest pushback. I think she's one step too far in her arguments, and obviously everything follows from that kind of standpoint. But personally, there's nothing that was brought up that satisfies that first question before you're allowed to really go down that path.
Yeah, I think I can generally agree with that. My kind of closing feelings is, I don't know, I guess I've already said it several times. Nora, please take the time to redraft and consider the specificity of things that you're saying. Several times throughout the video, I do think there's an issue you have of framing things when you're presenting your ideas that makes you seem sloppy in your presentation of these concepts and these ideas. And generally, I don't know. It's like I think you and John, I think everybody's probably said everything about there is to say about it. The inconsistency in the moral framing of certain issues, the jumping back and forth between whether or not it's okay to even engage with an artwork or whether or not it's okay just to monetarily support them. what I would say is the misframing of statistical information in the beginning, and what Chris said about telling people just to not even engage with someone's artwork or someone's creations at all. I don't know. It's just a bit of a mess. I suppose there's not much left to add. There's just not much left to add.
I mean, when it comes to like emotional tone, though, it's just pretty good, man. I'm not gonna, knock points for that. I think the emotional delivery was pretty good.
Oh, her emotional delivery is fine. I just wonder to what degree engaging the pathos of this argument to try to create an effective rhetoric hurt her. To me, pathos is directly underpinned by logos. You need to have a very constant, consistent stream of logical underpinning. That way, when the pathos emerges, it can emerge with resounding success and clarity. But it just doesn't do so in this video, at least in several parts, I would say. Like I said, I can still see the charitable aspect of what she's saying, the general points that are being made, but the way that she does present some of these things is just it falls flat on its face in several places. And she doesn't convince me. Like she says, she brought me to the water and she can't make me drink. I'm not sure if you even brought me to the water, Nora.
All right.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that probably does it there, boys.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. We'll stop it here. Thanks everyone for joining us for part 2 of episode 3, covering Noralities. I'm worried about cancel culture, problematic media, and how to deal. I guess we will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
See you guys next time. It's been a pleasure.
See you, everyone. Have a good time.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.